Chapter 68. The first match of the first round began. And then, well, it ended. The time used, if counted from the start of the referee's call, was about 1 or 2 seconds. When the irritable Sun Kai fell outside the arena, holding his stomach and howling in pain, all the spectators and the Great Red Sect's elder widened their eyes. Before the match began, they were thinking about how Sun Kai would beat up Tianqi, and how the iron-boned disciple would scream in pain. But now, was there something wrong with the way they watched the match? Many martial artists rubbed their eyes subconsciously when they saw that the contestant on the ground was indeed a Great Red Sect disciple. Their expressions became interesting. They couldn't be blamed for feeling dazzled. They didn't expect the iron-boned disciple to make a move and finish off his opponent so quickly. The referee was stunned for a moment and immediately announced, "The winner of the first match of the first round is Tianqi." Li Qingyang shook his head and smiled. "Junior Tian, have you vented your anger?" Tianqi, whose name was mocked and looked down upon by everyone, sent his opponent flying with a belly full of anger. Now he felt very relieved. "Aha!" Su Xiaoma half squatted on the small high platform and stretched. "When can I go on stage?" Jun Changshao looked at the dumbfounded fatty beside him and cupped his hands. "Sorry, my disciple's temper is even more irritable. I don't want to waste time on your sect's trash." The Great Red Sect's elder's face flushed red as if he had eaten heaven, or shit. Tianqi represented his sect, and was the first to fight. He defeated Sun Kai in the fastest time, which surprised everyone. But they were only surprised. Many martial artists believed that the Great Red Sect disciple had underestimated his opponent, which was why he was defeated. He lost even with such a weak opponent. What a waste of the chance to advance to the second round. Speaking of which, that kid's speed is quite good. Unfortunately, he's only fast. If he meets me, he'll lose without a doubt. Many contestants didn't think highly of Tianqi because of his victory. At most, he had a slight advantage because of his nimble movement technique. The second match of the first round, Li He versus Tai Long. In another arena, the referee shouted loudly. There were 6 arenas, and 6 elimination matches would be held at the same time. But before the other arenas could shout, Tianqi had finished his battle. The third match of the first round, Zhaoying versus He Run. The fourth match of the first round. The fifth match of the first round. The referees shouted one after another, and the 10 challengers on the 5 stages began to fight, vying for the qualification to enter the next round. Due to the random drawing of lots to determine their opponents, contestants with great disparities in strength would meet each other. Therefore, the process was very simple, and the 5 battles ended in a short time. The winner advanced while the loser exited. Following that, another 12 contestants ascended the 6 battle stages one after another, and began to fight. The cultivators on the spectator stands all cheered for their idols. Jun Changshao yawned, and leaned back in his chair to take a nap. After a long while the referee announced, "Round 1, round 20, Li Qingyang versus Hu Yao." Only then did he open his eyes and look at the stage. "Begin!" Bang! Just as the referee's voice rang out, the contestant called Hu Yao was punched down by Li Qingyang. Even his punching posture was the same as 7 fields. Jun Changshao was not surprised by his second disciple's instant victory. After all, his talent and strength were obvious. "Thanks for letting me win." Li Qingyang withdrew his fist and bowed. The corner of the referee's mouth twitched, and he announced, "Round 1, round 2 winner Li Qingyang." As expected of the number 1 genius of Qingyang City, he is indeed valiant. I'm guessing that he did not use his full strength at all. This is only the first round. His opponents are not strong, so he must have held back. The spectators discussed animatedly. Although they both won in an instant, 7 fields was despised by them, while Li Qingyang, who was known as the number 1 genius of Qingyang City, was praised. It really was talent and status that determined the treatment. The sect competition continued, and the contestants worked hard to advance to the second round. Some won easily, while others were evenly matched. Until the 32nd round of the first round, Su Xiaomo, representing Iron Bone, went up the stage. His opponent was Song He, who was at the 11th level of the channel opening stage. In every sect competition, The champion was mostly martial disciple, so the 11th level of the channel opening stage was considered above average. Kid. Song He clenched his fists and smiled. If you know what's good for you, quickly jump down. This way, you won't waste time. And you won't be abused. Is that so? Su Xiaoma squinted his eyes and smiled. The referee said, begin. Swoosh. Song He seemed to be in a hurry. He rushed over first, and 11 rings of light flashed on his right wrist. He poured his spirit energy into his fist, bringing about a gust of wind. It's over. Poor guy. The crowd shook their heads. At this moment, Su Xiaoma dodged like a rabbit. His 2 short legs moved quickly, and he circled behind Song He. He stretched out his 2 fists and directly punched his opponent's waist. Hiss. Song He sucked in a breath of cold air. Go down. Su Xiaoma took advantage of the momentum to rise into the air. His right leg swept over with a gust of wind, and it directly landed on Song He's right face. Song He flew out with a bang. Ta! He landed on the ground and clapped his hands. So weak. Seeing this, the spectators once again widened their eyes. If Tianqi won because his opponent underestimated him, then it was hard for them to accept that Song He, who attacked first, was beaten down. The cautious old man was secretly shocked. This kid is the same as Tianqi. He didn't use any spirit energy, but he sent an 11th stage meridian opening realm cultivator flying with 1 kick. How strong is his strength? The 32nd round of the first round. The winner is Su Xiaoma, the referee announced loudly. Jun Changshao was full of smiles. 3 out of the 5 disciples had already advanced. If Lu Qianqian and Xiao Ziji won again, then no matter what the result was, the epic mission wouldn't be considered a failure. Bang! Bang! The sounds of fighting continued on the 6 stages. Not long after, Lu Qianqian went on stage. Her appearance immediately attracted the attention of many men. After all, she was beautiful and attracted attention wherever she went. The participant called Jiang Li went on stage and scratched his head. I'm a little embarrassed to fight with a woman. Lu Qianqian said indifferently, trash. Begin, the referee said. Jiang Li was still thinking about how he should gracefully defeat the girl, when he suddenly felt his body float up and out of the arena. Then he abruptly fell down. With a plop, he landed on all 4s. Lu Qianqian stood on the spot and gently retracted her hand. She looked at the referee. The referee came back to his senses and hurriedly announced, the 50th round of the first round. The winner is Lu Qianqian. The spectator stands were silent. Everyone stared blankly as Lu Qianqian walked down. With a wave of her hand, she pushed someone off the stage. She definitely used spirit energy. So it's not that she doesn't have spirit energy. She just hid it, and wasn't discovered by everyone. Oh my god. She pushed a 12th stage meridian opening realm participant down so easily. Her spirit energy is too strong. Everyone was amazed. The other participants who wanted to win the championship all looked at Lu Qianqian and said warily, a strong opponent. The 51st round of the first round, Xiao Ziji versus Wang Lai. Suddenly, the referee's voice sounded. The martial artists who were watching the other battle zones all locked their eyes on Xiao Ziji on the stage and mocked him. This trash is finally on the stage. It's really a blessing to be his opponent. Ta! Xiao Ziji went up the stage and heard the ridicule and discussion from all directions. He took a deep breath. He remembered what the sect leader said before he left to not be disturbed by the noise outside the arena. Wang Lai walked up the stage and grinned. I didn't expect that Wang Lai, would one day fight with a rare genius. It's really an honor. Begin, the referee said. Shua. Wang Lai took the initiative and strode forward. He hugged his arms and threw an elbow attack. The explosion of spirit energy messed up Xiao Ziji's black hair. Bang! The elbow hit him squarely on the shoulder. A wave of air rolled up on the ground and blew away the dust on the ground. Haha, that trash didn't even have a chance to dodge before he was hit. Previously, it was the Ironbone disciples who insta-killed others. This time it's our disciples' turn. Everyone laughed. Gradually, their smiles disappeared and their eyes were filled with disbelief. On the stage, Xiao Ziji, who was hit by an elbow that carried 1,000 pounds of force, stood in place and didn't fall down. The corner of his mouth even raised into a smile. How is this possible? Wang Lai was surprised. Xiao Ziji grabbed his arm and said, "Your strength is too weak compared to the forging room." He suddenly flung his arm. Wang Lai lost control of his body and flew out of the arena. Then he fell to the ground. The entire venue instantly fell silent. Chapter 69. 7 Tian's instant victory was acknowledged by the spectators. Su Xiaoma's victory was acknowledged by the spectators as well. But Xiao Ziji, who was regarded as trash, received Wang Lai's elbow strike and easily threw him out with one hand. This was a bit ridiculous. One was standing on the stage while the other fell off the stage. It was very realistic and not ridiculous. Can I announce it now? Xiao Ziji looked at the referee. The referee came back to his senses and immediately announced, "The winner of the 51st battle of the first round is Xiao Ziji." The loud voice was transmitted throughout the arena, pulling the dazed spectators back to reality. Their eyes were filled with disbelief. What kind of joke is this? How can a low-grade person with no cultivation defeat Wang Lai, who is at the 9th stage of the channel opening realm? The sun must have risen from the west. Did he use some underhanded method? Under the doubts of the crowd, Xiao Ziji walked down the stage and looked at Jun Changxiao, who was on the stage. A bright smile appeared on his face. "Sect leader, your disciple did not disappoint you," Jun Changxiao, who was leaning on the back of the chair, said with satisfaction. "Not bad, not bad." Xiao Ziji's performance was within his expectations. After all, he had gone through crazy tempering for more than 10 days, and had sweated a lot. This victory was deserved. Ding! 5 disciples have advanced to the second round. The completion rate of the epic mission is 10%. The host has received 20 contribution points. Ding! Sect contribution points, 62500. Jun Changxiao said in surprise. The reward is given just like that. The system said, 5 disciples have advanced to the second round, which is higher than the mission failure rate. It is determined that the initial completion rate is the minimum, so there will be a fixed reward. Jun Changxiao held his chin and said, "If they all enter the third round, will the completion rate be higher, and there will be a reward?" "Yes," the system said. Jun Changxiao said, "This epic mission is quite interesting." Suddenly, he glanced at the Xiao clan head elder, and saw him staring at Xiao Ziji. The killing intent in his eyes was even denser than before. Jun Changxiao frowned and thought, dangerous old man. Head elder, how could that kid defeat a 9th stage channel opening realm participant? A Xiao clan head elder said in disbelief. The head elder said coldly. This trash must have tempered his body. As expected of one of the Xiao clan's experts. Just from the fact that Xiao Zui was able to withstand the elbow strike and send Wang Lai flying, it was clear that his physical body was very strong. An elder next to him said disdainfully, "There is a limit to a person's physical body. Even if he was lucky enough to win this round and enter the next round, he will still lose if he meets a stronger opponent." The elder was furious. Previously, he was unhappy because Xiao Zui had come to participate in the inter-sect competition and brought shame to the Xiao clan. What made him unhappy was that he had actually advanced to the second round. Jun Changxiao had been paying attention to the Xiao family's first elder. Seeing the change in the Xiao family's first elder's eyes, Jun Changxiao murmured, "If Zui Ji manages to overcome all difficulties, will this old man die from anger?" For example, he would suddenly charge down and kill him. No. Jun Changxiao said, "We must take precautions." He took out the modified Desert Eagle, loaded the gun, and removed the plate on the hammer. He raised his hand, gave a thumbs up, closed one eye, and measured the distance between him and the Xiao clan head elder. "About 50 meters. I'm within shooting range." Jun Changxiao crossed his legs and placed his hand on the armrest. Although he was looking at the stage, he was also paying attention to the Xiao clan head elder. Wasn't this guy being too cautious? There was nothing wrong with being cautious. If that old man got angry and ignored the sect competition to kill Xiao Ziji, it would be too late to take out his gun. The Red Sect head elder was surprised. Sect head Jun, what are you holding in your hand? A toy, Jun Changshao said. The fat on the Red Sect head elder's face trembled as he thought. A sect head holding a toy. How despicable. Xiao Ziji stepped into the winner's area. Coincidentally, he met Xiao Linya's eyes in another battle zone, and saw a trace of surprise in the other party's eyes. Xiao Ziji ignored him, and closed his eyes to rest after entering the winner's area. The contestants who advanced first also looked at him in surprise, obviously unable to accept the fact that he had defeated Wang Lai. The direct descendants of the Xiao clan in the spectator stands also found it hard to accept. At this moment, their expressions were extremely ugly. After all, they came this time to see Xiao Ziji make a fool of himself, but he advanced easily, and he defeated a Stage 9 Meridian Opening Realm cultivator. Among the young direct descendants of the Xiao clan, the highest cultivation was only Stage 7 Meridian Opening Realm. It was definitely a painful blow for a trash in their eyes to defeat an opponent they couldn't defeat. Thinking back to those years, these direct descendants of the Xiao clan would follow behind him and call him elder cousin. They were closer than real brothers and would often ask for guidance on martial arts. Later on, when Xiao Ziji was no longer in the limelight, they changed their attitude. Some avoided him, and some hit him when he was down. Therefore, the direct descendants of the Xiao clan naturally didn't want the trash to be stronger than them, because it would hurt their fragile hearts. Even if they didn't want to see it, they saw it. The person they thought was trash defeated a Stage 9 Meridian Opening Realm in front of everyone. What was this called? Face slapping? No, this was called stabbing their hearts with a knife. Stabbing their hearts into pieces. Slapping the face didn't hurt the face. What they felt now was heartache. The first round of the competition was still ongoing. Those who advanced sat cross-legged to recover their spirit power. The 5 Iron Bone disciples didn't because they won without much effort. As for Xiao Ziji, he didn't need to as he didn't have any spirit power himself. An hour later, the first round of the competition had ended, and there were 128 people who advanced. According to the Sect's rules, they were redistributed to 4 battle zones, with a total of 32 contestants in each zone. Li Qingyang was in Zone A, Su Xiaoma was in Zone B, Lu Qianqian was in Zone C, and Tianqi and Xiao Ziji were in Zone D. After the division, each zone began to draw lots to determine their opponents. This was the final draw, and according to the order, the winners would fight until the first place of the zone entered the top 4. Jun Changshao murmured, as long as they can take first place in their zone, the epic mission will be considered completed. The only problem was Zone D. If Tianqi and Xiao Ziji met in advance, it would be a little troublesome. Fortunately, after Zone D drew lots, the two of them had a number 2 card and a number 31 card. If they continued to fight, they would only meet in the finals of their zone. The first match of the second round, Chen Chong versus He Wei. The Zone A referee announced. The referee's voice sounded in the other 3 zones at the same time. The 8 contestants went up the stage and cupped their hands to each other, and the second round officially began. Tianqi held the number 2 card and went up the stage of Zone D. His opponent held the number 1 card, and his name was Idashi. He was a Stage 12 Meridian Opening Realm participant. Begin, the referee said. Idashi, who had seen the previous battle, had some understanding of Tianqi's speed. He immediately rushed over and closed in, launching an airtight attack. P.S. The last day of the weekend, please vote. Chapter 70. Bam, bam. Spirit energy spread out from the arena, and palm prints appeared. This is the disorienting palm technique. Once it's used, it will form an airtight fist print. An older martial artist said, even martial arts techniques? That Ironbone disciple would definitely lose. However, Tianqi did not panic despite Idashi's frequent attacks. He used both his hands and legs to resist the palm prints that came from different directions. The higher-level martial artists in the stands were more surprised and shocked as they watched. Although the Ironbone disciple was caught in the opponent's attack rhythm, he did not use spirit energy at all. Every palm from the Qingling Sect disciple is at least 1,500 force points. How can he resist without using spirit energy to protect his body? This is too exaggerated. Whoosh whoosh. At this moment, Tianqi took a step back after blocking the opponent's palm technique. 10 light circles flickered on his right fist. Spirit energy poured into his fist and pierced through the layers of palm prints, landing on the opponent's chest. Fast, ruthless, and accurate. Thump, thump, thump. Adachi was hit and retreated violently before falling out of the arena. When he stabilized himself, he spat out a mouthful of blood, and his face turned pale. The referee said, "The winner of the fourth match of the second round is Tianqi. He won again? That guy only has 10 light circles on his wrist. Can he hit a level 12 meridian opening realm so far with one punch?" While the martial artists in the stands were dumbfounded, Tianqi had already walked down the arena. This time, he received the attack first before defeating his opponent. He used his strength to tell some idiots that his victory in the previous round was not a fluke. Sigh. Jun Changshao turned around and smiled. "It's not a loss for your previous disciple to lose to my disciple, right?" The big red sect elder was speechless. At this moment, he was not as active as before the start of the competition, because the disciples he sent out were almost wiped out in the first round. Only one of them was left, and was assigned to Zone D. The big red sect elder said lightly. "This is only the second round. There are still many battles to come. Don't be happy too early." Jun Changshao shrugged. He glanced at the Xiao family elder, and found that he was cultivating with his eyes closed. The contestants were still fighting. Judging from the situation, it was obviously much more exciting than the first round. Many people had revealed their martial skills. In this aspect, Ironbone was lacking. This was because the great sect leader Jun had only carried out the devil's training, and hadn't imparted any decent martial arts skills to his disciples. In his words, from the meridian opening stage to the martial disciple stage, as long as one's strength was strong enough, other than high-level martial techniques, it was just icing on the cake. In fact, there were no good martial skills for the disciples. Second round, 10th match, Zhang He vs. Li Qingyang. Begin. Bang! Just as the referee finished speaking, Zhang He was sent flying off the stage by Li Qingyang with a single punch. Second round, 10th match, winner Li Qingyang. The corners of everyone's mouths twitched. The 26th match of the second round, Su Xiaoma vs. Lin Feng. Begin. Swoosh. Shua. Whoosh. The agile Su Xiaoma stepped forward and circled around her opponent in an instant. While he was unprepared, she channeled her spiritual energy into her right leg and kicked him on the butt, sending him flying out of the ring. Second round, 26th match, winner Su Xiaoma. The corners of everyone's mouths twitched. Second round, 42nd match, Iron Eagle vs. Lu Qianqian. Begin. Pudong. The contestant called Iron Eagle was in the same situation as Hu Yao. He was pushed off the stage by Lu Qianqian with a light wave of her hand. The audience could not take it anymore. Big brother, big sister, this is the second round. The contestants who advanced have some ability. You Ironbone are all quick and decisive. Can't you show some respect to your opponents? Respect is not given, it is earned by oneself. Just like Jun Changshao, he never asked for respect when others humiliated the sect, because he would fight for it. Although the sect leader could not participate in this tournament, Lu Qianqian and the other four represented themselves and the entire Ironbone to fight for respect. The battle continued until the 64th match, Xiao Ziji vs. Hua Rong. He's coming, he's coming. Hua Rong of the Green River sect is a stage 12 meridian opening stage. He will definitely beat that guy. Sure enough, when the match began, Hua Rong merged his spirit energy into his palm and formed a palm knife, launching a fierce attack on Xiao Ziji. Bang! 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 The palm knife was like a shadow, wildly attacking the shoulder, chest, arm, and abdomen. However, no matter how Hua Rong attacked, Xiao Ziji remained motionless and did not feel the slightest bit of pain. How is this possible? How strong must his physical body be to be able to stand there like a wooden stake? The audience was dumbfounded. Damn it! Hua Rong was furious. He raised his palm knife and attacked Xiao Ziji's neck fiercely. In the process, He channeled his spirit energy into his palm, and his strength rose steadily. Smack! At this moment, Xiao Ziji blocked his palm knife with his palm and said calmly, "It's just a martial arts competition. Why do you have to be so heavy-handed?" His hand was like a pair of pliers, tightly clasping his opponent's wrist, making it difficult for him to break free. He's pinching his meridian. That participant is too impatient and too careless. Many experts saw through the trick. Xiao Ziji did not have a spirit root or a cultivation base, so he was useless. However, don't forget that he was once a stunning genius. His strength could drop, but his innate battle instincts would not be stifled. It looked like a wooden stake being hit here and there, but in reality, he was looking for an opening and finally pinching Huarong's meridian when he least expected it. It was a textbook counterattack. Unfortunately, many spectators did not care. They cheered for Huarong in their hearts, hoping that he would fight back. Among them, the Xiao family's direct descendants were the most enthusiastic. With his meridian sealed, he was weak and powerless. Was it possible for him to retaliate? Xiao Ziji held onto Huarong's pulse and dragged him step by step to the edge of the stage. Then he lifted him up and moved him outside. With a kick to his stomach, he released his hand that was holding onto his meridian. Huarong flew out and fell to the ground. He grimaced in pain and rolled on the ground while clutching his stomach. Jun Changshao laughed. That kick was very heavy. After a long time, the referee announced, "The second round 64th match, the winner is Xiao Ziji." Ding! 5 disciples have advanced to the third round. The completion rate of the epic quest is 20%. The host has received 20 contribution points. Ding! Sect contribution points, 82500. Jun Changshao secretly thought, "I gave another 20 points. If this is the case, the completion rate is 100%, and I can get 200 contribution points." As expected of an epic quest, the rewards are generous. Xiao Ziji returned to the winner's area. The martial artists on the viewing platform all shut their mouths and chose to remain silent. Ridicule? It no longer existed. The faces of the direct descendants of the Xiao family were as ugly as if they had eaten shit. As for their fragile hearts, they had already been pierced full of holes. The expelled direct descendant of the Xiao family has no spirit energy, but he can rely on his physical body to defeat a 12th-stage meridian opening realm cultivator. To be able to withstand Huarong's crazy attacks and be safe and sound, what kind of terrifying physical body tempering has he gone through these years? Geniuses are indeed geniuses. Even without spiritual roots, they can still find other ways to strengthen themselves. The Xiao family expelled him. I'm afraid they are already regretting it. Xiao Ziji's performance received unanimous praise from the upper echelons of the various sections. On the high platform, the Xiao family's great elder's face was as red as a pig's liver. His eyes were completely covered in killing intent. The trash that was expelled from the family had consecutively defeated his opponents and advanced to the third round. To him, this was something that was difficult to accept. In the distance, Jun Changshao gently raised his hand, intentionally or unintentionally pointing the gun at the Xiao family's great elder, and secretly said, "Old man, don't mess around or I'll shoot you." He would not allow anyone to hurt his disciples. Not to mention the Xiao family. Even the Yi family, Lin family, and Long family were not allowed. Chapter 71. With Xiao Ziji's victory, the second round of the competition was over. The total number of people in the 4 battle zones was only 64. After a short break, the third round of the competition began. Those who could enter the next round were all at least stage 12 meridian opening, so the battles would be even more intense. But after the competition began, as long as the Iron Bone disciples went on stage, the battles would not be intense at all. This was because Lu Qianqian's group of 4 finished off their opponents very cleanly. Even Xiao Ziji relied on his physical body in the third round. He circled behind his opponent, wrapped his arms around his waist, and suddenly lifted him up. His opponent's head fell to the ground, and he lost his ability to fight on the spot. Many experts evaluated him as barbaric. "Damn," Su Xiaoma said in surprise. Junior brother's physical body is so strong? Li Qingyang said seriously. Junior brother molds for 20 hours every day in the training room. We can't compare to him. Xiao Ziji's strong physical body was only half due to the muscle molding room. The other half was due to the basic molding pill. At this moment, every inch of his skin could be described as having been tempered 1,000 times. In just 10 days, Jun Changxiao had turned Xiao Ziji into a physical demon. Not only was he durable, but he also had strong explosive power. This was the result of training. This was his disciple. No spiritual power? No spirit root? I'm sorry, but I can beat you to death even while standing. I can beat you until you start doubting your life. Ding! 5 disciples advanced to the 4th round. Epic mission completion rate 30%. Host receives 20 contribution points. Ding! Sect contribution points. 102,500. Seeing that his contribution points had exceeded 100 for the first time, Jun Changxiao's smile became even angrier. I can refresh the store and see if I can get something good. Ding! Sect contribution points. 92,500. Jun Changxiao opened the basic store and a new item appeared. However, when he saw the first item, magically modified, 8x scope, his mouth twitched. There are still scopes for firearms. He clicked on the details. Item, magically modified, 8x scope introduction. Telescopic sight, with magnification function, can see and identify distant targets, suitable for long-distance accurate shooting. Effect, can be installed on precision rifles and sniper rifles. After activation, it will automatically lock onto the target within the aiming range. Duration permanent. Weakness, after scoping in to shoot, cooldown time is 1 hour. Price, 20 contribution points. Looking at the description, Jun Changxiao was speechless. Scoping in automatically locks onto the target. What's the difference between this and cheating? The system said. The host has crossed over to another world. Activating the system is the same as cheating. These words, yes, you are right. Jun Changxiao said. What? You don't recommend me to buy it? The system said. The 8x scope can only be used with a precision rifle or sniper rifle. The probability of this item being refreshed is very low. I do not recommend the host to buy it. You're quite conscientious, Jun Changxiao said. As he continued to browse through the items, he sadly discovered that none of the items that had refreshed this time were of any help to him. Alright then. He had used up all his luck. Since they were of no use, Jun Changxiao decided to pull them down. However, no matter how hard he tried, they would not budge. The system said, every time the store refreshes, the host must purchase at least 1 item before it can be refreshed. What the fuck? Jun Changxiao was driven mad. I spent 10 contribution points and none of them were useful. I even have to spend money to refresh them. This is too much. Although he said that, he still had to consider. What should he choose among all the fancy and useless items? Forget it. I'll just buy the magically modified 8x scope. If my luck is good, I might get a sniper rifle. The probability of a sniper rifle being refreshed in the basic store is only 1%. Host, please consider carefully. What about a precision rifle? 5%. What about the magically modified 8x scope? 1%. Jun Changxiao opened his eyes wide and said, the probability of this item being refreshed is even lower than a sniper rifle. What the hell is there to consider? I must buy it. Without hesitation, he clicked on the purchase button. Ding! The host has spent 20 contribution points and obtained the magically modified 8x scope X1. It has been transferred to the spatial ring. Ding! Sect contribution points, 72500. Jun Changxiao thought of something and took out the 8x scope. He looked at it with one eye, and the scene in the distance suddenly became much closer. He could even see the sweat of the contestants on the stage clearly. Although he didn't have a gun and couldn't activate the locking function, it was still good to use as a telescope. The elder of the Great Red Sect came over and asked curiously, Sect leader Jun, what is that long and thick thing in your hand? A toy, Jun Changxiao answered casually. As soon as he said that, he felt ashamed and thought, he asked me that, and I answered that way. It seems a little dirty. The first match of the fourth round, Lu Qianqian versus Shi Honglei. On the stage, the referee called out the contestants for the first match of the fourth round. Jun Changshao aimed the 8x scope at the stage where Lu Qianqian was. As he looked closer, the woman's face was still perfect and flawless. He couldn't help but recite, "There is a beauty in the north, peerless and independent. With one glance, she could topple a city. With another glance, she could topple a country." This was a short poem written by Li Yannian of the Han Dynasty. It was very appropriate to describe Lu Qianqian. Begin. The referee said. Shi Honglei obviously knew that Lu Qianqian's spiritual power was very strong, so he hurriedly used his movement technique. There was no need for that, because before he could even take a step, he was pushed down by the wave-like spiritual power. Martial disciple. That woman is definitely a martial disciple. Seeing the 12th stage Meridian opening realm contestant being pushed off the stage again, many high-level martial artists had a rough idea of Lu Qianqian's cultivation. Jun Changshao was still looking with the 8x scope. He secretly confirmed, she has already become a martial disciple. Why was it already and not already a martial disciple? That didn't exist. The Yi Jin Jing could only be cultivated at the Meridian opening realm. Since that woman comprehended it, it meant that she was still in the Meridian opening realm at that time. The aura released by the Earth Flame Wolf should not be weaker than Li Qingyang's. Therefore, there was only one truth. Before Lu Qianqian underwent the demonic cultivation, her true strength was at the 12th stage Meridian opening realm. Sect Master Jun, the Great Red Sect Elder, smiled and said, "Your disciple has hidden her strength well. In my opinion, there is no doubt that she will take first place in the third section." The experts of the various sects also thought so. After all, she had swept her opponents off the stage 3 times in a row, which was enough to prove that her spiritual power was very strong. Jun Changshao said, "I have no interest in the first place of the battle zone. If I want to take it, I want to take the real first place." The Great Red Sect Elder shook his head and pointed to a young man in a gray robe in the second section. He is Zhang Lingyi, a disciple of the 6th-rate heroic martial sect. He is a martial disciple and is one of the favorites to win the championship. Oh! Jun Changshao looked with the 8x scope and found that the guy was young. The corner of his mouth was slightly raised, and he had a sense of arrogance. He is in the same battle zone as Xiao Mu. Judging from their number plates, they should meet in the finals of the battle zone. The Great Red Sect Elder pointed to Xiao Linya and said, "This is a direct descendant of the Xiao family, a disciple of the 6th-rate Juyan Valley. He is also one of the favorites to win the championship." Damn! Jun Changshao realized that the direct descendant of the Xiao family had been assigned to the 4th section. At present, there were 8 people in the 4th section. Judging from their number plates, if he and Xiao Ziji advanced to the next round, they would meet to compete for the spot in the finals of the battle zone. It was quite fate for the cousins to be assigned together. The 6th match of the 4th round, Bei Fu versus Xiao Ziji. Jun Changshao hurriedly turned the 8x scope and saw the direct descendant of the Bei family, who had been at the entrance of the inn, walking onto the stage with the catchphrase of "Fart." Damn it! This guy was also in the 4th section. Seeing him made him angry. Punish yourself. Beat him until he has nothing left to live for. Chapter 72. 4th round, 6th round. Xiao Ziji walked onto the stage. Before he could even stand still, Beiyu laughed and said, "Yo-Yo, Genius Xiao is not bad. You actually defeated 3 contestants in a row." Hearing the word yo-yo, Jun Changshao was even angrier. He wanted to rush over and kick him into the sky, then set up a heavy machine gun and shoot him. You didn't. The system said at an inappropriate time. Jun Changshao collapsed on the chair and howled in his heart. I can't even think about it. Xiao Ziji didn't say anything. He clenched his fist and said coldly, "Sect Master said to beat him up. This time I won't go easy." Yo-Yo. Beiyu grinned and said, "Your eyes are so scary. Do you still think you're the insufferably arrogant genius from 5 years ago?" No. He changed his words and said, "Even if you're the genius from 5 years ago, I, Beiyu, I'm no longer the weakling who was beaten up 5 years ago. When he said the word beaten up, his eyes flashed with anger. It could be seen that he was beaten up when he was young, and had never forgotten it. Begin, the referee said. Whoosh whoosh. Beiyu raised his hand, and a cluster of flames appeared in his palm. He laughed sinisterly and said, Xiao Ziji, you're just flesh and blood. Can you resist the flames? Imperial Fire Technique. I didn't expect Beiyu to be a fire element martial artist. Xiao Ziji's body is strong, but under the fire element, he won't be able to withstand a single blow. Everyone discussed in surprise. It was very rare for martial artists in the Falling Star continent to be able to comprehend fire, water and other special attributes. The Xiao family's direct descendants, who were originally like rotten grass, heard Beiyu summon the flames and stood up in unison, as if they were alive. Ha ha ha, under the flames, no matter how strong the body is, it will still be burned. Without spirit energy, he can't form a spirit energy shield. Even a martial disciple with a strong body is just a piece of trash. I'm looking forward to Beiyu burning him until he runs all over the stage. The Xiao family and the Bei family had a grudge, but these Xiao family's direct descendants were happy to see Xiao Ziji being tortured by Beiyu. Not only them, the elders of the Xiao clan also laughed. The great elder leaned back in his chair, and the anger and killing intent in his eyes faded quite a bit. After all, that trash was about to be defeated, so why should he care? A fire tribute martial artist? Jun Changxiao was disdainful. After all, he had the exquisite fire seed. Xiao Ziji didn't think much of it either. Bailey didn't see the fear he was looking for in his eyes. He was instantly enraged and waved his hand to throw the flames at him. Boom! Xiao Ziji stepped forward and punched out with his right fist, hitting the flames directly, turning them into sparks and extinguishing them in the void. His fists were completely fine. What? Many martial artists in the spectator stands stood up in shock. That's fire spiritual energy. Not to mention the damage. Just the scorching temperature alone was enough to burn one's body with one's fists. What about him? Not only was it broken, it wasn't damaged at all. Unbelievable, unbelievable. A powerhouse said in shock. A middle-aged man next to him said solemnly. Could it be that this kid's physical strength has reached the point where fire and water can't hurt him? At this time, the Xiao family's elders and direct descendants had to be given a close-up shot, because their expressions were as if they had eaten shit. Jun Changxiao said lightly. You want to hurt my disciple with that little flame strength? Ridiculous. Flames could burn everything. But when the physical body was strong enough, without enough heat, it could only scratch an itch. Amazing, amazing. The great red Sect's elder gave him a thumbs up. Without the support of spiritual energy, he broke the fire spiritual energy with his bare fists. He couldn't help but admire him. How is this possible? Bailey, who thought he could use flames to torture Xiao Ziji, was dumbfounded when he saw his fireball being broken. Swish! At this moment, the wind from the fist came. When he came back to his senses, he instinctively wanted to dodge, but it was too late. With a bang, his abdomen was hit hard. His eyes bulged and he bent over in pain. After Xiao Ziji succeeded, his left fist formed a hook and hit Bailey's chin directly. Bailey's whole body was lifted off the ground. The two punches were very heavy. Plop! Bailey fell to the ground with a ferocious expression. Intense pain spread in his body, and even breathing became difficult. A powerhouse said in shock. The strength of those two punches is at least 1,000 pounds. Oh my God! Without any support of spiritual energy, he can hit 1,000 pounds with just his physical body. How incredible! The strength of the physical body is usually proportional to the defense. No wonder flames can't hurt him. When Xiao Ziji stopped deliberately hiding his strength and used his full strength, many powerhouses had a comprehensive understanding of his explosive strength. Damn it. Bailey endured the pain and stood up. Then with a bang he was punched in the face. He bent over and staggered back. Xiao Ziji caught up with him step by step and hit him in the back with an elbow. Then Bailey fell to the ground with a bang. The decisive two-hit combo made the spectators' mouths twitch, and they felt pain for Bailey. Pa! Xiao Ziji rode on his back, pulled his hair, and said coldly, Do you remember how I beat you when we were young? Bailey remembered. He was ridden like this and beaten on the street. For a long time, he lived in pain, and the seeds of psychological trauma were planted. Xiao Ziji said coldly. When you bullied girls, I beat you until you cried. Now that I have nothing, I can still beat you until you cry. Swish! Bailey raised his fist. This scene was very similar to the past. Bailey's fragile mind suddenly collapsed. He cried and begged for mercy. Don't hit me. This movement made him recall memories, as if he had returned to the time before he was beaten. This was a psychological trauma, and it was very large. Boom! Boom! Xiao Ziji punched again and again, and his strength rose again and again. In a moment, the scumbag young master's face was full of blood, and his head was swollen like a pig's head. His mother and father would definitely not recognize him. Xiao Ziji grabbed one of Bailey's feet, pulled him to the edge of the arena, and then threw him down. Comfortable. Jun Changshao leaned back in his chair with a smile on his face. However, the muzzle was always aimed at the Xiao clan's first elder, afraid that he would not be able to suppress his anger. The 6th round of the 4th round, the winner is Xiao Ziji. The referee's voice sounded. The martial artists who stood up on the spectator stand sat down, and their eyes were filled with deep shock. Bailey, who had mastered fire's spiritual power, was defeated by him. This was definitely something that they had never thought of before the start of the competition. The 7th round of the 4th round, Qin Ming versus Xiao Linya. The next round of the competition began immediately. Xiao Linya walked to the arena, and when he passed by Xiao Ziji, he whispered with a smile, "Cousin, you're still so strong without spiritual power and cultivation. You really made me look at you in a new light." Xiao Ziji ignored him and stepped into the winner's area. Xiao Linya, who had the surname of the 3 great clans, defeated Qin Ming not long after. He came to the winner's area and smiled. "Cousin, your opponent in the next round is me." Xiao Ziji closed his eyes and rested. The competition was still in progress. Li Qingyang and the others who appeared later defeated their opponents effortlessly and advanced to the top 4 in each battle zone. Jun Changshao spread his hands and said helplessly, "It's too easy." When he came, he thought that the difficulty of each disciple's battle would probably take 2 or 3 chapters to describe. But in the end, it was a quick battle. The Great Red Sect's elder slumped in his chair because the Sect's only heir was defeated by Tianqi, and they were completely annihilated. Chapter 73. Ding! 5 disciples have advanced to the 5th round. The completion rate of the epic mission is 40%. The host has gained 20 contribution points. Ding! Sect contribution points, 92,500. Jun Changshao said, "The 5th round is about to begin, including the district finals, semifinals, and the final. There are only 4 matches. It seems that the disciples need to take the top 3 in order to reach 100% completion rate." The system said, yes. Not long after, the 4th round ended. Half of the 32 contestants were eliminated, and the other half advanced. At this point, the sect competition had reached its climax, because the disciples of various sects who remained in the winner's area were very strong. Many martial artists were also guessing how many contestants would show their true strength next. After a short break, the referee shouted, "The first match of the 5th round, Li Qingyang versus Sun Haoyan." Swish! Swish! Li Qingyang and Sun Haoyan went on stage one after another. The two cupped their hands, and when the referee shouted the start, they instantly started fighting. This time, the opponent's strength was a bit strong. Li Qingyang didn't end the battle quickly, but he was entangled with him. Bang! Bang! The sound of fists and feet and spiritual power filled the air. The two fought very admirably, and the spectators were also watching with great interest. That's right. Didn't they come all the way here to watch the battle between outstanding geniuses? What's the fun in ending the battle quickly? Bang! Bang! In a short period of time, Sun Haoyan and Li Qingyang had exchanged more than 20 moves. But the more they fought, the colder his heart became. Because that guy not only had spiritual power to protect his body, but his physical strength was also high. After resisting again and again, his arms were numb. Although Li Qingyang, Su Xiaoma, and the other two were not as crazy as Xiao Zuiji, they still spent 12 to 12 hours a day in the molding room. Their physical strength was definitely high. Otherwise, they would not have been able to eliminate their opponents so quickly. Xiao Ziji, because he didn't open his meridians, could only take the route of extreme physical strengthening. The three of them, on the other hand, fully developed their spiritual power and physical strength. Bang! In the end, after dozens of rounds, Sun Haoyan couldn't hold on anymore, and was blasted out of the arena by Li Qingyang. The winner of the first match of the 5th round is Li Qingyang. Next up was Lu Qianqian, and her opponent was still swept away mercilessly. This woman didn't go to the training room. She had been cultivating in the spiritual energy array. In just a few days, the cyclone had gathered a vast amount of spiritual energy. Li Qingyang relied on the combination of spiritual power and physical strength to defeat his opponent, while she relied on pure spiritual power to defeat her opponent. Later on, Su Xiaoma and Tianqi also relied on the dual explosion of their spiritual power and physical strength to knock down their opponents one by one. The process of the battle was a little slow, and Zhang Xian wasn't able to end the battle quickly. However, judging from his performance, Zhang Xian was able to suppress Zhang Xian in all aspects. What was even more troublesome was, many of the experts present were unable to accurately estimate their true cultivation levels. These Ironbone disciples haven't let go yet. Maybe their opponents are too weak, so they aren't able to unleash their full power. How could a 9th-rate sect cultivate such an outstanding disciple? Many experts were puzzled, and looked at Jun Changshao on the high platform. This seemingly only pulse-opening level rookie was able to cultivate teenagers with mediocre aptitudes like Su Xiaoma and Tianqi. It was really incredible. Too strong. The pressure is so great. Those who advanced to the next round all frowned when they saw Li Qingyang and the others defeating their opponents effortlessly. At this time, if they still regarded the Ironbone disciples as pushovers, they would really be fools. The martial artists on the spectator stand were devastated. The Ironbone disciples advanced again and again, thinking that they might be the biggest dark horse in the sect's martial arts competition. Now it seemed that they were really strong. One disciple from each of the 3 battle zones entered the regional finals. If they win, it's equivalent to setting a new record for a 9th-rate sect's disciple entering the top 4. The opponents in the regional finals must be at the level of martial disciple, or even higher than the 1st grade. No matter how strong they are, they won't advance. While everyone was talking, the referee shouted, "The 7th match of the 5th round, Xiao Linya versus Xiao Ziji. It's coming." Jun Changshao looked dignified. Along the way, Xiao Ziji had defeated opponents at the pulse-opening stage, which were not worth mentioning. Xiao Linya at the martial disciple level was the real test. It's starting. Cousin Linya has been cultivating in the Jian Valley for the past few months. His strength must have improved significantly. That guy is waiting to be abused. The Xiao clan's direct descendant was alive again. Although Xiao Ziji was lucky to defeat his opponents one after another, which frustrated their spirits, meeting Xiao Linya was tantamount to the end of their good luck. At this time, they were still comforting themselves with luck. This group of Xiao clan's direct descendant was hopeless. Humph. On the high platform, a Xiao clan elder said coldly, although he won the first few rounds, meeting Linya is tantamount to ending early. The Xiao clan was very confident in Xiao Linya. After all, he had already entered the martial disciple level and cultivated in the Jian Valley for a few months. Xiao Linya of the Xiao clan is the favorite to win this year's intersect martial arts competition. Xiao Ziji's Dark Horse Road is coming to an end. It is said that this Xiao clan's direct descendant's aptitude is also good, but he was always suppressed by Xiao Ziji until the other party became a cripple. Isn't that so? A few years ago, people called him Xiao Ziji's cousin and rarely mentioned his name. Xiao Linya walked onto the stage and heard the crowd's discussion. His eyes gradually turned cold. 5 years ago, the title of Xiao Ziji's cousin tortured him like a nightmare. No matter how good his performance was, he had always been living in Xiao Ziji's shadow. He was unwilling to accept it, so he cultivated harder. Finally, one day, after unremitting efforts, his cousin was reduced to a cripple. Xiao Ziji stepped onto the stage. "Cousin, I will defeat you in front of everyone, and let everyone know that my name is Xiao Linya, not Xiao Ziji's cousin." Xiao Linya said with a cold face. Xiao Ziji said, "You can't do it." The martial artists in the spectator stand looked at him and saw the pride between his brows. In an instant, it was as if they saw the brilliant and stunning genius from 5 years ago. Xiao Linya said with a cold gaze, "You haven't even opened your meridians. What right do you have to say that I can't do it?" "No means no," Xiao Ziji said. Crack! Xiao Linya clenched his fists and his anger ignited. He was usually quite calm, but facing Xiao Ziji, who used to live in the shadow, his emotions were a little difficult to control. "Begin," the referee said. Swish! As soon as the referee finished speaking, the angry Xiao Linya rushed over with a movement technique. His hands formed a seal and instantly displayed a dense number of palm prints. 1,000-hand guanyin palm. It's the middle-rank mortal-grade martial arts technique of the Jian Valley, an expert said in amazement. Boom! 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 In the blink of an eye, numerous palm prints came from different directions and bombarded Xiao Zuiji's body. But he still stood in place like a boulder, motionless. The martial artists in the spectator stand twitched their mouths. The direct descendant of the Xiao clan was a martial disciple, and even used an intermediate-rank palm technique. But he did not even take a step back. The strength of his physical body was simply terrifying. Swish! Xiao Linya's palm turned into a fist and blasted at an extremely fast speed. The strength of his fist was at least 2,500 caddies. Unfortunately, when it blasted on Xiao Ziji's chest, only a bang was heard, and he still did not move. Damn it! Xiao Linya knew that his physical body was strong, but he did not expect that when they really fought, he would be so strong that it was difficult for him to move even with his martial arts technique. Xiao Ziji said, "Cousin taught you that you can't be too hasty when fighting with others, and you can't mess up your state of mind. It seems that you have long forgotten. Trash is not qualified to teach me." Xiao Linya's face was ferocious and angry. His other fist blasted over with thousands of caddies of force. Swish! Xiao Ziji dodged. Moreover, he dodged with just a sidestep. Many masters were amazed. Xiao Linya missed and once again used the 1,000-hand guanyin palm, launching an airtight attack. However, no matter how he hit, it was difficult to move Xiao Ziji. On the high platform, the Xiao clan Grand Elder's face became more and more ugly, and the murderous intent in his eyes grew stronger. He could see that it was difficult for Xiao Linya to move Xiao Ziji. His state of mind was already messed up, and if he continued to fight, something would happen sooner or later. Sure enough, when Xiao Ziji took the palm print head-on, he staggered again and raised his fist from the side and blasted it on Xiao Linya's elbow joint. The elbow joint could make the arm more flexible, but it was also the most fragile. Although the punch did not dislocate him, it brought a strong sense of pain to Xiao Linya. He hurriedly covered his elbow and took a few steps back. Xiao Ziji said, "You have an injury here." Yes. When cultivating in Jian Valley, Xiao Linya's arm was injured. Although it was not a big deal, it was still a hidden danger. "Have I been discovered?" His face was even more ferocious. Xiao Ziji shook his head and said, "You're fighting with an injury, so you're no match for me. Hurry up and get off the stage." Damn it! Is he looking down on me? Unforgivable, unforgivable. Xiao Linya clenched his fists and poured his spirit power into them. He once again rushed over with his body technique. In an instant, the airwaves rolled up and blew away the surrounding dust. Xiao Ziji no longer used his physical body to take the attack head-on. He stepped back step by step, avoiding the attack step by step. At the same time, he took advantage of the opportunity to hit Xiao Linya's elbow joint. Although Xiao Linya had been deliberately protecting himself, he would be hit from time to time. The injury that was not serious gradually worsened, and there were bursts of heart-wrenching pain. Judging from the situation of the battle, he was still suppressing Xiao Ziji, but in the eyes of the masters, his speed was much slower than before. Xiao Ziji's physical body is too strong. If the direct descendants of the Shao clan can't attack effectively, they will put themselves in a disadvantageous position sooner or later. His body is so hard that it's not easy to shake him, unless you use a weapon. The Sect's martial arts competition has never allowed participants to use weapons. In my opinion, the direct descendant of the Shao clan is in danger. Tisk tsk, he can fight a martial disciple without opening his meridians. How terrifying. Look, the faces of the Shao clan's elders are green with anger. A monster whose body has been tempered to such a degree was expelled by the Shao clan. They must be angry and green with envy. Many powerhouses were watching the battle while discussing. The expressions of the Shao clan's elders on the high platform were constantly changing, and the anger in their bodies was overflowing. They could not accept that the trash who was expelled from the Shao clan could fight evenly with Xiao Linya, who had been trained with all their strength, because, they knew, evenly matched. The Shao clan's elders were too naive. Xiao Ziji had been looking for flaws and mercilessly hit Xiao Linya's elbow joint, causing him more pain, and messing up the connection of his moves. Even the ordinary martial artists could see that the direct descendant of the Shao clan was struggling more and more. Bang! Suddenly, Xiao Ziji's heavy punch hit Xiao Linya's elbow joint again. With a crack, Xiao Linya suddenly grimaced and took a few steps back. His forehead was in so much pain that it broke out in cold sweat. Swoosh! Xiao Ziji strode over and circled behind him. He pressed his back against Xiao Linya's back, and clasped his neck with a backhand, performing a beautiful shoulder throw. Plop! Xiao Linya landed heavily with a ferocious expression. It's over. Many powerhouses shook their heads. This result had been doomed from the moment Xiao Linya's elbow joint injury was discovered. Over? Not at all. After Xiao Ziji put Xiao Linya down, he clasped one hand on his neck and said lightly, "Remember, your brother will always be your brother. Even if I become a trash, I'm not someone you can blaspheme." Bang! Bang! His right fist blasted down again, and again with a strong wind. In just a moment Xiao Linya, who was originally arrogant and had high hopes, was beaten as badly as Beiyu. Jun Changshao shrugged and said, "Favorite to win the championship? He's just trash." The big red sect elder's mouth twitched. A disciple who had not opened his meridians had beaten a genius of the Shao clan to such a state. He was convinced. Bang! Suddenly, a loud noise came from beside his ear, startling him so much that he almost fell to the ground. The big red sect elder hurriedly turned his head to look, and saw the toy in the iron-bone sect leader's hand emitting green smoke. In the direction he pointed, a hole was pierced in the wall of the high platform in the distance. The loud gunshot alarmed the martial artists in the spectator stands. They all looked over, and saw Jun Changshao holding something in his hand. Opposite him, the Shao clan Grand Elder stood in front of the chair with a horrified expression. The hole in the wall was less than half a meter away from him. Did the sect leader shoot? Li Qingyang and Su Xiaoma were surprised. What was that sound just now? It sounded like firecrackers. Everyone began to talk at once. Smack! Jun Changshao stepped on the chair with one foot, and pointed his gun at the Shao clan Grand Elder. He said indifferently, "Sit down." The Shao clan Grand Elder's expression was extremely ugly, but he could only sit down obediently after being attacked by the smoking object. In particular, when he thought of the moment when he stood up, a stream of light with a terrifying force brushed past him. The horror in his heart was especially intense. "I've sinned." Jun Changshao held his gun and said loudly, "Vent your anger well. I'll help you keep an eye on the grievances you've suffered all these years. If anyone dares to mess around, I'll make his head explode." Xiao Zueji smiled, raised his fist again, and started punching again. After a while, when Xiao Linya was almost beaten to death, he threw him out of the arena, as if he was dragging a dead dog. The winner of the 7th match of the 5th round is Xiao Ziji. The referee's announcement reverberated throughout the entire venue, causing many martial artists to be unable to calm down for a long time. P.S. 2 chapters and 2 chapters combined into one. Please recommend me. Chapter 74. When Xiao Ziji threw Xiao Linya over his shoulder, and put him on the ground, with one hand on his neck and the other wildly abusing him. The great elder of the Xiao clan on the high platform could not sit still and stood up. He just wanted to scold and stop Xiao Ziji from abusing him. He had no intention of making a move. After all, the organizer of the martial arts competition was the city lord of Liang City, and the great elder of the Xiao clan did not have the guts to interfere with the competition. Jun Changxiao did not know. Seeing him stand up angrily, he thought that he was going to harm Xiao Ziji, so he pulled the trigger without hesitation. After aiming for so long, the shot was definitely a hit. The deviation of about half a meter was also a warning to the other party. This was called a warning shot. The bullet condensed by the crystal nucleus flew past him, and the violent power it carried deeply shocked the great elder of the Xiao clan. At that moment, he did not doubt that if it hit him, the result would be either death or injury. The great elder of the Xiao clan was shocked, and could only obediently watch Xiao Linya being abused by Xiao Ziji. His hands clenched on the armrest, and his face turned pale. The expelled trash beat the future genius of the clan. It must be a slap in the face and a stab in the heart. The direct descendants of the Xiao clan slumped in their chairs, one by one, and died beautifully again. After the referee announced Xiao Ziji's victory, the spectator stand was silent. Xiao Linya, who had the cultivation of a rank 1 martial disciple, was defeated by the power of his physical body. This was absolutely shocking. Trash? No one thought so anymore. Because if someone who could even defeat a martial disciple was trash, what were they? Xiao Ziji stopped in the winner's area and felt everyone's gaze. He said with an expressionless face, "The feeling from 5 years ago is back." What feeling? The feeling of being envied by countless people. At that time, he enjoyed the attention of others and had the arrogance that a genius should have. After 5 years of experiencing the coldness and warmth of the world, his heart was as still as water. Junior brother. Su Xiaoma squatted in another battle area and raised his thumb. Well done. Xiao Ziji smiled brightly. Only in front of the sect master and senior brother would his decadent face show a pure smile. The 5th round's last contestant was 7 fields. Because his opponent's strength was also a first-rank martial disciple, he had no choice but to open all 12 meridians and explode with both his spiritual power and physical body. After a lot of twists and turns, he was finally able to defeat his opponent. After going through the devil training, coupled with the spirit energy formation, and the 50% meridian opening rate of the body metamorphose scripture, Tianqi broke through from the 5th stage to the 12th stage. Calculating carefully, it was about 1 meridian per day. The 8th match of the 5th round, the winner is 7 fields, the referee shouted. Tianqi's 12 sections meridian opening stage strike against a first-grade martial disciple once again caused the entire place to become absolutely silent. Ding! 5 disciples have advanced to the 6th round. The completion rate of the epic mission is 50%. The host has received 20 contribution points. Ding! Sect contribution points. 112,500. Jun Changxiao murmured. Zueji and Tianqi met in the district finals. That's right. There were only 2 people left in Area D, Xiao Ziji and 7 fields. The martial artists on the spectator stands also realized this, and began to discuss among themselves. If the 2 of them were to fight, who would win? At the end of the 5th round, there were only 2 people left in each battle zone. Next, they would compete for the first place in their battle zone, and then fight for the final championship. What made many martial artists collapse was that in the top 8, the Iron Bone took up 5 spots, and none of the participating disciples were eliminated. In so many years of the Sect tournament, there has never been 5 disciples who advanced to the district finals at the same time. Too scary. That Lu Qianqian and Li Qingyang are obviously still holding back. The probability of winning the next match is very high. While the crowd was discussing in shock, the referee's voice sounded. The first match of the top 8. Li Qingyang against Huoyuan Ming. It's starting. I wonder if that Iron Bone disciple will burst out his true strength in this round. Under the anticipation, Li Qingyang and Huoyuan Ming went up the stage one after the other. When the referee shouted the start, The two of them rushed towards each other at the same time. Spiritual energy gathered in both of their fists, revealing a cold aura. Li Qingyang knew that his opponent was not simple, so he did not hide it anymore. He directly burst out with the cultivation of a first-grade martial disciple, and his moves were also bold. He is a martial disciple. When the numerous sects recruited him, it seems that he was only in the 10th stage of the channel opening realm. Now in less than 2 months, he is actually a martial disciple. Incredible. What kind of elixir does Iron Bone have that can make a disciple improve so quickly? On the stage, Li Qingyang, who was full of cultivation, fought more and more smoothly. After more than 10 moves, he suppressed Hui Yuanming, who was also a first-grade martial disciple. The outcome has been decided. Many strong people judged. Bang! Sure enough, Li Qingyang's fist was like a snake from the side, and directly hit Hui Yuanming's shoulder, knocking him out of the stage. Hee. Su Xiaoma laughed and said, "Second senior brother is still very scary when he is serious." The winner of the top 8 battle is Li Qingyang. The referee shouted. The corners of many martial artists' mouths twitched. They knew of Li Qingyang's strength, but they did not expect that after fully erupting, he would easily defeat an opponent of the same level. The next to appear, Lu Qianqian, shocked them even more because after the start, she defeated a second-grade martial disciple contestant in a very short time. That's right. A real second-grade martial disciple. A contestant with this kind of strength was either the champion or the runner-up in the previous martial arts competition. The martial arts competition is getting more and more difficult. Why are these two disciples of Iron Bone getting easier and easier? Many martial artists' mentality really collapsed. Jun Changshao said, very good, very good. 2 disciples occupied 2 spots in the top 4, and they were 1 step closer to the condition of sweeping the top 3. Next, Su Xiaoma went to fight. His opponent was Zhang Lingyi, an outstanding disciple of the 6th-rate heroic martial sect. His strength was also a second-grade martial disciple. Many experts thought that the Iron Bone disciple would not be able to withstand and would definitely be eliminated. Who knew that after the start of the battle, Su Xiaoma would rely on his agile movement technique to move around the stage, and Zhang Lingyi could not even touch the corner of his clothes. That's too fast. Did he learn some kind of high-level movement technique? Very likely. Many martial artists could not understand and could only attribute the extremely fast Su Xiaoma to using a high-level movement technique. In fact, he did not use anything, just a pair of short legs. Su Xiaoma did not just move around. Occasionally, he would seize the opportunity to sneak an attack from behind. Regardless of whether he hit or not, he would immediately retreat after attacking. Zhang Lingyi was angered by this, and he released his spiritual power recklessly to wave it around the stage. Hey, you can't hit me. Are you angry? Hey, you can't hit me again. Are you angry? Su Xiaoma dodged again and again, and did not forget to provoke him with cheap words, making his opponent even angrier. Zhang Lingyi, who had always been arrogant, was so angry that his lungs were about to explode, and he attacked even more crazily. An hour later, he was exhausted and stood on the spot panting. The anger in his eyes was about to spurt out. Go down. Su Xiaoma seized the opportunity and rushed over from the side. He raised his leg and kicked him in the face, and he flew out beautifully. Nice. Before Zhang Lingyi fell to the ground, Jun Changshao could not help but cheer. Su Xiaoma had won the district championship, including Xiao Ziji and Tian Qi, who did not fight. It meant that the fight for the championship had become an internal battle of the Iron Bone disciples. Plop! Zhang Lingyi fell off the stage, and a footprint appeared on the right side of his face. Is this a dream? Many martial artists were in a daze, and the shock in their hearts could no longer be described with words. District A champion Li Qingyang. District B champion Su Xiaoma. District C champion Lu Qianqian. District D champion Xiao Ziji and Tian Qi were one of them. Iron Bone took the first place in all 4 districts. This was definitely something that had never happened since the start of the Intersect tournament. Chapter 75. Group B's final battle ended, and the winner was Su Xiaoma, including the 2 Iron Bone disciples from Group D. No matter who won or lost in the following semifinals, the champion would be Iron Bone. Very strong, very awesome. The martial artists on the viewing platform, the higher-ups of various sects, and even the city lord of Liang City. After seeing this result, the expression on their faces could only be described as wonderful. There had been a case where 2 disciples from a sect met in the finals, but 4 disciples joined hands to enter the semifinals, and no matter how they fought, they would be able to take the top 3 places. This had never happened before. This was definitely a precedent for the sect's martial arts competition, and it would be very difficult for it to happen again in the future. The 3rd round of the semifinals, the winner is Xiao Musu. The 4th round of the semifinals, Xiao Ziji versus Tian Qi. The referee shouted one after another. Although no matter who won, Group D's champion would be Iron Bone disciple. But according to the rules, there would definitely be a winner. Shua. Tian Qi was the first to enter the stage. He rushed towards Xiao Ziji, who was walking up, and smiled. "Junior brother, I won't go easy on you." Xiao Ziji said, "Me too." "Begin." The referee shouted. Shua. Xiao Ziji and Tian Qi rushed towards each other at full speed. Full speed. It seems that even if they are from the same sect, there will still be a winner in the sect's martial arts competition. Everyone was looking forward to it. They already didn't care who would be the champion. Anyway, it wouldn't be in the hands of other sections. They were more concerned about being able to see a fierce competition. This way it would be a worthwhile trip. Xiao Ziji and Tian Qi rushed towards them at full speed. The 2 of them stopped about 1 meter away from each other. They waved their fists and shouted in unison, "Rock, paper, scissors." Tian Qi scissors. Xiao Ziji stone. Ah! Tian Qi ran to the edge of the martial arts arena, then jumped down and shouted loudly. We agreed that everyone would use paper, but he secretly changed it to stone. The martial artists in the arena were instantly petrified. Using rock, paper, scissors to determine the winner, was this considered a competition? The referee was also dumbfounded, but since 7 fields jumped off the stage, it meant that he admitted defeat. He announced in front of everyone, the 4th match of the top 8, the winner is Xiao Ziji. Ding! 4 disciples have obtained a spot in the top 4. They have fulfilled the conditions. The epic mission has been completed with a completion rate of 150%. The host has received 200 contribution points. Ding! Sect contribution points, 312500. Fuck. Jun Changxiao's eyes widened. You're giving so much? Ding! The host has completed the epic level mission in excess of requirements. The host has received the seal opening talisman X1 and some experience points. The sound of the system notification had just ended when a vast amount of spiritual power gushed out from Jun Changxiao's body. It gathered in his dantian and gradually formed a cyclone. He broke through just like that. The sect leader Jun's face was full of confusion as the cyclone condensed and took shape. Then he gathered a violent spiritual energy inside, and his spirit was lifted. Ding! The host has successfully broken through to first-grade martial disciple. Jun Changxiao spread out his hands and said, "So easy." The others were struggling to condense their cyclones at the 12th level of the meridian opening stage, but he had directly advanced. However, the spiritual power inside the cyclone didn't stop just because he had broken through to first-grade martial disciple. Its strength was still rising steadily. Ding! The host has successfully broken through to second-grade martial disciple. Ding! The host has successfully broken through to third-grade martial disciple. Ding! The host has successfully broken through to fourth-grade martial disciple. Ding! The host has successfully broken through to fifth-grade martial disciple. In a short time, Jun Changxiao had broken through to fifth-grade martial disciple from 12th level of the meridian opening stage in just a few seconds. Plop! The great red sect elder was so shocked that he fell to the ground. His mouth was open so wide that 2 eggs could probably be stuffed inside. When Jun Changxiao had broken through just now, wave after wave of power had surged out, and he had seen it with his own eyes. My God! My ancestors. What happened to that guy just now? Was he breaking through? Impossible. Impossible. How could there be such a crazy breakthrough in this world? He must have deliberately released the aura of a breakthrough to create the illusion of an increase in cultivation. The great red sect elder comforted his frightened little heart. Phew. Jun Changshao let out a sigh of relief. He stretched his arms and grinned. How refreshing. What was even more refreshing was, after completing the epic mission, he was rewarded with an opening seal talisman. An unsheathed saber that was 40 meters long was definitely the great sect leader Jun's strongest trump card. With the opening seal talisman, he could directly use it. The Spirit Spring Sect? The Xiao family? Once I unsheath my saber, I can kill anyone. At that moment, the great red sect leader Jun wanted to jump to the highest point of the venue and arrogantly shout at everyone, "Who else?" The system's voice sounded. Unfortunately, there is no fifth place evaluation in the sect tournament. Otherwise, if this disciple were to take it, the completion rate would be even higher. That's a pity. Jun Changshao said this, but his heart was already content. He would get 100 contribution points for completing 50% and 200 contribution points for completing more than 50%. Not only would he have a breakthrough, but he would also receive an opening seal talisman. What was not to be content with? This was really an epic mission, so terrifying. The first match of the semifinals, Lu Qianqian versus Li Qingyang. After a short break, the referee shouted. The martial artists on the viewing platform immediately became spirited. After all, one of them had explosive spiritual power, while the other had both spiritual power and physical strength. The battle between them would definitely be. Li Qingyang went up on the stage. After the referee shouted the start of the match, he cupped his hands towards the great senior sister and turned around to jump down. Many martial artists stared with wide eyes. The semi-finals of the sect tournament. Even if you are from the same sect, you should at least show some respect, right? If not, a game of rock paper scissors would be fine. The winner of the semi-finals is Lu Qianqian. The referee shouted helplessly. Next up was Su Xiaoma and Xiao Ziji. Many martial artists leaned back in their chairs, no longer having any expectations for the battle. Sure enough, after the match began, the two iron-boned disciples ran at full speed. They didn't rush towards each other, but rushed out of the arena, as if they were competing to see who would jump down first. In the end, Su Xiaoma had the advantage in speed. When Xiao Ziji ran to the edge of the arena, he had already landed steadily and successfully obtained the right to be eliminated. Are they kidding us? Rushing to be eliminated, what a joke. Sigh, they are all from the same sect. Wasn't the final stage of the sect tournament extremely intense? In this round's semi-finals, if they didn't take the initiative to jump down, they would rush to be eliminated. I just want to ask, are you guys having fun? Whether it was fun or not, the final match of the sect tournament was also an internal battle between the iron-boned disciples. The final match, Lu Qianqian versus Xiao Ziji. The referee's weak voice sounded. Obviously, because they were all waterproof, they didn't have the passion they should have. Xiao Ziji stepped onto the stage first and said, "Senior sister, you'll be the champion." After brutally beating Bei Anai and Xiao Linya, he had found himself and vented his grievances. He was completely uninterested in being the champion of the sect tournament. Lu Qianqian walked up and walked down. She was also uninterested. If Li Qingyang hadn't been one step ahead, she would have been eliminated early. Just like that. The referee didn't even shout the start of the match. The most important final match of the sect tournament that was held every 2 years was over. The champion iron-boned disciple Xiao Ziji. The martial artists watching the match wanted to cry. They came all the way here and almost had hemorrhoids. How could the iron-boned disciples treat the final match like this? After the match, the elders of the various sects sat together. After some discussion, they came up with a new policy. When disciples of the same sect meet, they must fight with all their strength. They played rock, paper, scissors to see who would be eliminated first. If they voluntarily forfeited before the match began, they would be disqualified from the competition. Sigh. Jun Changshao spread his hands and said, I thought it would be difficult to win the championship. I didn't expect the participants of the various sects to be so weak. I'm really disappointed. Ding. Acting tough points plus 999,999. Chapter 76. If the system had acting tough points, Jun Changxiao's words would have increased a lot. Unfortunately, it didn't. The corner of the Great Red Sect's elder's mouth twitched when he heard him say, "You really disappoint me." Although he was acting tough, his disciple was in the top 4, so he had the capital to act tough. Especially when he thought about how he thought that the Iron Bone disciples were stepping stones for his disciple. He felt his face burn. Sorry. All the participants in the intersect tournament were stepping stones for the Iron Bone disciples. The most tragic ones were the Xiao family elder and the direct descendants of the Xiao family, because Xiao Ziji, who they thought was trash, was the champion of the intersect tournament. The expelled direct descendant won the intersect tournament. The Xiao family probably didn't even dream of it. At this time, their intestines should be green with regret. Xiao Ziji's matter tells us that even if a genius falls, there is still the possibility of a comeback. 30 years in the east, 30 years in the west. The Xiao family elder heard the crowd's discussion clearly. The blood in his body was boiling, and his hands were trembling violently. If Jun Changxiao hadn't raised his spear, he would have rushed down and killed Xiao Ziji on the spot. Cough cough. The city lord of Liang City appeared in the center of the arena and announced loudly, "This intersect tournament is over. The champion is Xiao Ziji from the Ironbone sect." Then, under the watchful eyes of the crowd, he gave Xiao Ziji a mortal-grade martial skill book and 10 items similar to crystal cores. Spirit stones? Jun Changxiao murmured. In the memory of the original owner, he knew that there was a kind of stone in the Falling Star continent that contained a vast amount of spiritual energy. It could be used directly for cultivation, and was called a spirit stone. Spirit stones could be mined from ore veins, or refined by spirit masters using crystal cores. In terms of silver, one spirit stone could only be bought with 10,000 taels of silver. It was very precious. TSK, Jun Changxiao said. I didn't expect that the champion of the intersect tournament would be rewarded with martial skill spirit stones. The system said. Otherwise, who would participate? What he said made so much sense that I had nothing to say. Under the envy of many martial artists, Xiao Ziji took the secret manual and spirit stones and returned to the inner part of the venue with his senior brothers. Jun Changxiao was the first to arrive. He smiled and said, "Babies, you've worked hard." The corners of everyone's mouths twitched as goosebumps appeared all over their bodies. Jun Changxiao put his hand on Xiao Ziji's shoulder. While taking out the secret manual and spirit stones, he said, "In order to celebrate our sect's victory in the intersect tournament, I've decided to bring you all to the best restaurant for a meal. I want to drink." Seven Fields said, let's go. Many of the spectating cultivators left the stage one after another. Seeing Jun Changxiao walk out with his disciples, the contempt in their eyes was replaced by awe. In a world where martial arts were respected, one spoke with their fists. The 5 disciples had directly taken the top 4 spots. They had already used their fists to tell them not to underestimate the 9th-rate Ironbone righteous sect. Damn it! The Xiao clan elders who walked out from the other entrance looked at the Ironbone righteous sect disciples who swaggered away. Their eyes were filled with anger. Just at this time, a clan elder passed by. He cupped his hands and smiled. Congratulations to Xiao clan's direct descendant for winning the intersect tournament. Aya. He patted his head and said, I forgot. Xiao Ziji has already been expelled by you all. He is no longer a direct descendant of Xiao clan since 5 years ago. A Xiao clan elder said angrily, Song Shizhen, why are you being so sarcastic? Do you want to fight? The other elders glared angrily at him. They were already irritated. And this fellow was purposely provoking them. They would definitely not be able to take it. I just said it casually. Everyone, please don't take it to heart. Song Shizhen had achieved his goal. He cupped his hands and left. When he came to the front of the crowd, someone joked, Clan Elder Song. Xiao Clan is very annoyed now. Aren't you just rubbing salt on their wounds? Song Shizhen sighed. Sigh, I really forgot about it. Speaking of which, Xiao Ziji's physical body has become so terrifying in the past 5 years. The Xiao Clan really made a bad move by expelling him. In my opinion, when the news of Xiao Ziji winning the Intersect tournament spreads out, Xiao Clan will be treated as a laughingstock again. The upper echelons of the various clans did not care about the Xiao Clan's feelings, and discussed as they walked. Damn it! The Xiao Clan elders were furious. The Xiao Clan's first elder, who had not spoken since the beginning, looked at the direction Xiao Ziji left. His eyes were gloomy and filled with killing intent. 5 years ago, that woman came to break the engagement, and the Xiao Clan became a laughingstock. 5 years later, when he won the Intersect tournament, the Xiao Clan would definitely become a laughingstock again. This was intolerable, absolutely intolerable. Come. In a private room of the most luxurious restaurant in Liang City, Jun Changshao held a bowl and said, "Cheers." As he said that, he raised his head and drank all the wine in the bowl. Li Qingyang, Su Xiaomo, Tianqi, and Xiao Ziji all drank all the wine in the bowl. Lu Qianqian did not drink, but ate quietly. Damn! What kind of food is this? It tastes so bad. It can't even be compared to what Dudu made. After eating Lu Wansher's food, eating the food made by these ordinary chefs felt like eating coarse grain, and was hard to swallow. Sigh. His mouth was getting picky. Tianqi raised his bowl and said, "If not for the sect leader, I, Tianqi, would just be a medicinal ingredient in their eyes. This bowl of wine, disciple will first toast." As he said that, he drank all the wine in the bowl. His disciple had won the championship, and was proud of Iron Bone. He had also completed the epic mission. Jun Changshao was in a good mood, so he also raised his bowl and drank all the wine. Su Xiaoma immediately raised his bowl and grinned. If not for the sect leader, I, Su Xiaoma, would probably still be an outer sect disciple in other sections. This bowl of wine, disciple will toast you. Jun Changshao curled his lips and said, "You guys are trying to make me drunk." After drinking a bowl of wine with Su Xiaoma, Li Qingyang stood up and said, "I am very lucky to have met the sect leader and joined Iron Bone, becoming your fellow sect member. This bowl of wine will toast the sect leader, as well as the senior sister and junior brother." As expected of someone who came from a family, he had a way with words. "Drink." Jun Changshao raised his wine, looking like he would not refuse anyone. After the senior brothers had all toasted, Xiao Ziji also stood up and said, "Sect leader, I am not good with words and don't know what to say. This bowl of wine will toast you." Gulp gulp. He raised his neck and drank all the wine in the bowl. His entire face immediately turned red. It seemed that he was not good at drinking. A bunch of idiots. Lu Qianqian said indifferently. Everyone drank in the restaurant for more than 2 hours, and drank 2 jars of wine. The 5 of them were also drunk. Perhaps it was because of the long period of depression that was released in the sect competition. The drunk Xiao Ziji hugged the empty wine jar, and cried like a child. Jun Changshao stayed in Liang City for a night. After waking up the next day, he brought his 5 disciples back. Walking on the streets, the martial artists who had mocked and despised him had long changed their expressions. Trash, trash sect. After sweeping the top 4 in the sect competition, they no longer existed. Jun Changshao walked on the streets with his head held high, and his chest puffed out. Finally, he brought his disciples out of the city under everyone's gaze. However, after walking for dozens of miles, out of the boundary of Liang City, there were shadows moving in the bushes. Lu Qianqian and Li Qingyang discovered it. The 2 of them placed their hands on the hilt of their swords at the same time, ready to unsheath at any time. Heh. Jun Changshao placed his hands behind his back and said indifferently, "People of the martial arts world, why do you have to hide your head and show your tail?" Shwa, shwa. In an instant, dozens of black-clothed men rushed out from the bushes and surrounded them. Their eyes flashed with anger and killing intent. Jun Changshao was speechless as he thought to himself. The direct descendant of the family was oppressed, and they came to take revenge so quickly. The villains are really stupid. If I were the protagonist of a novel, the readers would definitely think that I have a halo that lowers their intelligence. Chapter 77. More than 10 black-clothed men had their faces covered. However, when they jumped out, they glanced at Xiao Ziji intentionally or unintentionally. Their killing intent suddenly became stronger. Jun Changxiao noticed it. Therefore, even if he thought with his toes, he could guess that these people were either from the Xiao clan or the Bei clan in Liang City. He was more inclined to think that they were from the Xiao clan. After all, it was a very cruel blow for their own clan to win the championship. It was normal for them to do something irrational. Damn it, Jun Changxiao thought. This is such a good opportunity. Why isn't there a side mission? Kill, the leader of the black-clothed men said in a deep voice. Swish, swish, more than 10 black-clothed men took out their sharp swords. Their martial disciple-level cultivation erupted, and they poured their spiritual energy into their swords. They attacked from different directions. From the strength of their attacks, it was obvious that they wanted to kill. Clang, clang. Lu Qianqian and Li Qingyang took out their swords and blocked the 4 black-clothed men attacking from the left and right. Their weapons collided and golden light flashed. Although the 2 of them were only martial disciples, they poured their spiritual energy into their weapons and fought against 2 martial disciples. They were not at a disadvantage. Su Xiaoma took out his wooden sword and stood in front of the sect leader to protect him. Xiao Ziji and Tianqi did not have any weapons, so they could only lean against each other. Their eyes were serious. In the sect competition, they performed very well. However, in front of the black-clothed men who were equipped with weapons and were only martial disciples, their physical strength and spiritual energy were obviously not enough. Wasn't there a saying that even if one's martial arts were high, they would still be afraid of a kitchen knife? Ding! The host has spent 30 contribution points and received 3 low-grade cold-edge swords. They have been transferred to the space ring. Ding! Sect contribution points, 282500. Catch! Jun Changxiao waved his hand and threw the 3 low-grade cold-edge swords over. Pa! Su Xiaomo caught them first. Feeling the coldness from the sword hilt, his eyes were filled with a strong desire to fight. Kill! Unsheathing his sword, he stepped forward and faced an attacking black-clothed man. Tianqi followed closely behind, drawing his sword to block the black-clothed man, who was attacking from another direction. Although the 2 of them were only at the 12th stage of the channel opening realm, with the support of the elementary-grade cold-edge sword, they were able to fight evenly with their opponents. At this moment, the importance of weapon quality was very important. The eyes of the 6 men in black who were entangled flashed with disbelief. Obviously, they did not expect the Iron Bone disciples to be so strong. There were a total of 12 attackers. Although Lu Qianqian and the other 3 were holding back 6, there were still 6 remaining. They circled around from behind, and the murderous intent in their eyes intensified. Shua! The sword light flickered with a cold light as it fiercely pierced over. Xiao Ziji, who had his back facing the black-clothed man, suddenly turned around, unsheathed his sword, and slashed with both hands. This speed was the best proof of the extreme strengthening of his muscles. Boom! Without the support of spiritual power, the cold-edged sword struck the black-clothed man's sword. With a kacha sound, the other party's sword shattered on the spot, and half of the sword's tip was nailed into a tree. The man in black was dumbfounded. Although his weapon was only a low-grade high-grade weapon, after infusing it with spiritual power, its strength was comparable to an ordinary weapon. However, it was actually cut in half by a single slash. Swoosh! While he was still in a daze, Xiao Zui kicked him in the left side of his face, sending him flying. Jun Changxiao said, "Sinful self, you should treat the person who killed you like I did." Whoosh! Turning around, he stepped forward and unsheathed his elementary-grade cold-edged sword. A sword light flashed as he said, "Don't show any mercy." Poochie! The attacking black-clothed man suddenly stopped in his tracks. He stiffly lowered his head, and there was a slanted sword mark on his chest. Blood spurted out like rain. The sword mark was deep and went straight to the vital point. Plop! The black-clothed man collapsed on the ground, and his consciousness gradually disappeared along with the flow of blood. A martial disciple killed with one slash. This was Jun Changxiao's strength after breaking through to the 5th stage of the martial disciple realm. Arrogant, crazy, and awesome. Xiao Ziji's eyes were filled with shock when he saw the sect leader decisively kill a person. Damn! Su Xiaoma, who was fighting with his opponent, looked back and exclaimed, "The sect leader is so strong." The sect leader is a martial disciple? Li Qingyang was shocked. He clearly remembered that the sect leader's strength was only at the 11th stage of the meridian opening realm. Lu Qianqian forced the 2 black-clothed men to retreat with her mysterious sword technique. She thought, so he has been hiding his strength all this time. After witnessing the death of their companion, the 4 black-clothed men behind them were infuriated, and they all charged toward Jun Changxiao. Sect leader Jun retracted his sword and turned around. Do you understand? Understood. Xiao Ziji's eyes turned cold. He gripped the hilt of his sword tightly with both hands and unleashed all the strength in his muscles. He directly slashed at one of the black-clothed men who attacked the sect leader. Bang! The powerful and heavy cold-edged sword slammed into the martial artist's sword and broke it once again. Whoosh! Xiao Zuiji waved his arms, and the cold-edged sword swept along the broken sword with a powerful force. With a splashing sound, blood splashed out. Thump, thump, thump. The black-clothed man retreated more than 10 steps and covered his bleeding neck with one hand. His eyes were filled with despair, and the light in his eyes gradually faded. He knelt on the ground and slowly lowered his head. Another companion was killed. The other 3 were so angry that their eyes were bloodshot. They rushed over like crazy. Xiao Ziji walked over quickly and slashed with his sword. Although he did not have any spiritual power, he activated his physical strength and combined it with the elementary-grade cold-edged sword. His sword slashed down and left afterimages. The black-clothed man who attacked first felt a chill in his heart and was forced to raise his sword to block. Bang! Crack! The sword was cut in half. The remaining power of the cold-edged sword did not diminish and ruthlessly slashed his left shoulder, directly cutting off his left arm. Die! At this moment, the other 2 black-clothed men stabbed over with their swords. They poured their spiritual power, and the tip of their swords shone with a sharp luster. Not good. Xiao Ziji's expression changed. At this moment, he had just slashed down with his sword. Without the support of his spiritual power and movement technique, it was too late for him to dodge. Whoosh! Whoosh! 2 sword lights flashed in his field of vision, emitting a chill. Then, Xiao Ziji saw blood splatter like a blooming rose. Plop! Plop! The 2 black-clothed men who attacked fell straight to the ground. There were fine sword marks on their Adam's apple. Sect Master's sword is so fast, Xiao Ziji said in surprise. Jun Changxiao withdrew his sword and said indifferently, "If you want to kill my Iron Bone Upright Sect disciple, you must be prepared to die in advance." Pucci! At this moment, one of the black-clothed men failed to dodge and was pierced through the heart by Lu Qianqian's sharp sword. After killing someone, she pulled out her sword without even blinking. Using her graceful footwork, she appeared in front of another martial artist and pierced his chest again with a cold speed. Plop! The 2 black-clothed men fell to the ground together. Pucci! Li Qingyang also relied on the 9-style wave-stacking sword to injure a black-clothed man. In a short time, 6 of the 12 black-clothed men died and 3 were injured. The remaining 3 black-clothed men finally realized that their opponents were too strong. They could only use all their strength to force their opponents back, and then tacitly flew towards the bushes. They were very fast. Li Qingyang and Su Xiaoma were one step too late. It was a bit difficult for them to catch up. Bang! 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 Suddenly, 3 gunshots sounded like firecrackers, startling the birds in the forest and causing them to fly. The 3 black-clothed men who escaped all had holes the size of walnuts on their backs. They fell to the ground with horrified gazes. Jun Changxiao withdrew his spear and blew the smoke from the muzzle. He said coldly, "Since you dared to provoke my Ironbone sect, don't go back alive." Li Qingyang and the others' ears were buzzing. The corners of their mouths twitched as they said, "Sect Master's spear is too scary." Chapter 78. Jun Changshao, who had broken through to rank 5 martial disciple, fired 3 shots in a row. Not only did all of them hit their targets, but the hand holding the gun did not feel numb. This meant that he could ignore the recoil of the Desert Eagle. Li Qingyang and the others were deeply shocked when they saw the sect leader shoot again and kill 3 black-clothed men, who had fled more than 20 meters away in the blink of an eye. "Take down the injured ones." Jun Changshao sat on a tree root nearby and said, "I want to see who dares to assassinate my iron-boned sect in broad daylight." Yes. The disciple received the order and walked towards the injured black-clothed men. He found that they were all lying on the ground, no longer breathing. Li Qingyang frowned and said, "Sect leader, they're all dead." "What?" Jun Changshao hurried over and took off the black mask. He found that his lips were black and instantly understood that there was poison in his mouth. "Sinful self, do you know these people?" Xiao Ziji walked over and carefully examined the dead black-clothed men. He shook his head and said, "Sect leader, I don't know them." "Don't know them?" Jun Changshao was stunned. At first, he guessed that the assassins were from the Xiao clan. Was he going to be slapped in the face? Li Qingyang squatted down and found a waist tag from one of the black-clothed men's bodies. He said, "Sect leader, the word Bei is engraved on it. Could they be from the Bei clan?" Xiao Ziji held his chin and said, "I've heard that the Bei clan has a group of men of sacrifice." Su Xiaomo rushed to say, "Needless to say, they must be angry that junior brother tortured Bei and I. That's why the Bei clan sent men of sacrifice to kill us." Slap. Jun Changshao flicked the back of his head and said, "Do your men of sacrifice carry a waist tag that reveals their identity when they go out?" Su Xiaoma covered his head and grimaced. Li Qingyang said, "Sect leader, do you mean that someone deliberately framed the Bei clan?" Jun Changshao touched his chin and said, "Suicide soldiers might not be able to commit suicide by biting poison. Perhaps, assassin." Li Qingyang said. Jun Changshao patted his shoulder and laughed. "Not bad, not bad. You didn't follow me for nothing." Li Qingyang said solemnly. Previously in the sect, there were also assassins who came to assassinate the sect leader. Could it be related to the Spirit Spring sect? It's hard to say. Jun Changshao was not sure. He now had 2 inferences. These assassin-like black-clothed men could be the Xiao family impersonating the Bei family, or they could really be related to the Spirit Spring sect. "Search them and see if they have any spatial rings," Jun Changshao said. Li Qingyang's group of 4 searched, but they didn't even find a single silver tail, let alone a spatial ring. It could be said that they were poor. Jun Changshao shook his head and said, "Pile these corpses together and burn them." Yes. Everyone pulled all the corpses over. Su Xiaoma picked up a branch from the ground, sharpened it, and began to rub it on the dead wood. Drilling wood to start a fire? This is too primitive. Jun Changshao shook his head, gently raised his hand, and a ball of exquisite fire spurted out, instantly igniting the corpse. Seeing the flames rising in an instant, Li Qingyang, Su Xiaoma and the others opened their mouths. Lu Qianqian said in surprise, "You are a fire spiritual warrior?" Jun Changshao shrugged and said, "I am a fire spiritual warrior. Is it strange?" "Pa," he snapped his fingers and said, "Let's go back to the sect." The 5 people hurriedly followed. On the way, Li Qingyang said in a low voice, "Senior sister, the flame that the sect leader used just now should be a very rare fire seed." Lu Qianqian said, "The best fire seed, exquisite fire." Ah! Li Qingyang almost staggered and fell. When he stabilized his body, he looked at the sect leader in shock. There were thousands of strange attributes in the falling star continent, such as fire spirit and water spirit. Each of them had their own level, the same as spiritual roots. The best exquisite fire seed. It was definitely an extremely rare fire spirit. Li Qingyang suppressed his shock and said in a low voice, "Senior sister, the sect leader is not simple." Lu Qianqian said indifferently, "If he is simple, do you think these junior brothers can make it to the top 4 with their aptitude and cultivation?" Li Qingyang said. That makes sense. Jun Changshao slowed down and walked side by side with the two of them, saying, Qingyang, I said that I will make you a martial emperor. If I don't have the ability, why would I boast? Remember, he glanced at the 5 disciples and said, as long as you follow me down to earth, there will be bread, there will be milk, there will be everything. Although they did not know what bread was, the disciples still said in unison, we will follow the sect leader forever. Boom. A thick bolt of lightning shot out from the dark clouds in the sky and struck the valley, where there were few people. The ground instantly cracked. Whoosh! A black stream of light darted out of the valley and into the body of a young man chopping firewood in the distance. Ah! The young man screamed in pain. His originally clear eyes gradually became cold and severe. After a while, his ferocious face relaxed and he said in a hoarse voice, my soul has been trapped for thousands of years. I have finally been reborn. Lingyao, I saw you as my confidant, but you plotted against me for the Taishan Sutra. When I start cultivating again, I will settle the score with you. What? That woman actually broke through the void? She was worshipped by the world, and was crowned as the first empress in history? Crack. After the memories merged, the young man's eyes flickered with endless anger. Even I have not taken that step. She, a woman, actually did it. It's okay, it's okay. I have the Taishan Sutra in hand. In just a few decades, I can easily break through to the martial emperor realm and break through the void. It won't be too late to settle the score with her then. Phew. The young man stretched. His originally clear eyes had a sense of vicissitudes that did not match his status, as if he had experienced many things. He was Yi Xingqian, one of the 10 great martial emperors thousands of years ago. He was known as the Night Emperor. Later, he was plotted against by the woman he saw as his confidant and died. A trace of his remnant soul entered the depths of the earth's core and flew out after thousands of years of nurturing. He then took over the body of the young man chopping firewood. This body's spirit root is only of a low grade, and its cultivation is only at stage 1 meridian opening. It's too weak. Yi Xingqian looked at his new body. Fortunately, I have the Taishan Sutra. This is a cultivation technique that seizes the heavens and earth. It should be able to transform a low-grade spirit root. A smile appeared on his face. The first empress in history? One day, I will pull you down from your pedestal. Yi Xingqian clenched his fist, raised his head and shouted, from today onwards, I, Yi Xingqian, will make everyone in the world unable to go against my will. If the heavens refuse to obey me, then I will defy the heavens. Bang! Just as the word heavens left his mouth, an object flew from afar and smashed into his face. Yi Xingqian's eyes were bulging as he staggered around before collapsing to the ground. One of the 10 great martial emperors thousands of years ago, a reborn expert who was arrogant and claimed to defy the heavens, fainted on the spot just like that. The object of the attack was actually a football. A cry of surprise came from afar. Sect Master, your kick hit someone. It can't be. How could there be someone in the wilderness? Shishasha. Not long after, Jun Changshao came over with 5 disciples. Seeing the unconscious young man on the grass, his mouth twitched and said, I just casually kicked and it hit your face. How unlucky are you? Sect Master, what should we do? Li Qingyang asked. Jun Changshao raised his head to look at the dark clouds in the sky and said, there are no villages around, and it's going to rain soon. Let's carry him back to the sect first. Yes. Xiao Ziji squatted down and carried the young man on his back. Jun Changshao put the football into his spatial ring and brought the 5 disciples back to the Iron Bone Unyielding sect. P.S. Please recommend it. Also tell me the update time. 2 updates. 8 to 9. 1 in the morning 6 to 7. 1 in the afternoon. 3 updates. 8 to 9. 1 in the morning 1 to 2. 1 in the afternoon 6 to 7. 1 in the afternoon. Chapter 79. The sect leader, senior sister, and senior brother are back. The calm Ironbone sect suddenly became lively with a loud shout. When the disciples heard from Su Xiaoma, that not only did their junior brother Xiao Ziji win the championship, but their senior brothers also took the top 3 places. They immediately cheered excitedly. As a member of the sect, they naturally valued this honor. Sigh. Lu Wanshi leaned in front of the dining hall and pouted. It wasn't easy to make them white and fat, but they lost a lot of weight in just a few days. Sect leader, what should we do with this person? Xiao Ziji carried the unconscious Yi Xingchen and asked. Jun Changshao thought for a while and said, let's put him in the medicine pavilion first. Xiao Ziji received the order and walked into the medicine pavilion. He threw Yi Xingchen in the ward and was about to leave when he heard that person say, I'm going to defy the heavens. Defy the heavens? Did the heavens owe you money? Xiao Ziji thought that he was talking in his sleep, so he ignored him and turned to leave. On the training field, many disciples stared at a black and white ball and asked in confusion, Senior brother, what is this? Su Xiaoma smiled and said, this is called happy soccer. The sect leader brought it out. He said that if we play it every day, not only can it cultivate our temperament, but it can also improve our leg strength. A disciple leaned over and read the small words written on the soccer ball. Year 2018, World Cup Final, China men's soccer team defeated Brazil men's soccer team. Senior brother, what does this mean? I don't know either. Su Xiaoma waved his hand and said, get out of the way. I'll give you guys a try. Okay. Everyone hurriedly retreated. Su Xiaoma took a few steps back, ran up and shot. With a whoosh, the soccer ball flew out and smashed into the outer wall, causing cracks to appear. His kick was comparable to Shaolin's mighty King Kong kick. Clap, clap. Su Xiaoma clapped his hands and said, how is it? Amazing. Senior brother, your kick just now was at least 500 kilograms of force. The disciples exclaimed. It was indeed a football from the year 2018. It could withstand such a high force, but it was only bounced back. It was not broken or deformed. Jun Changshao spent 10 contribution points to buy a happy soccer ball for his disciples to play with when they had nothing to do. The purpose was to train their compatibility. The next day, the martial arts practice field was slightly modified into a simple soccer field. After informing the disciples of the rules, they were divided into 2 teams and began to compete. My face hurts. Yi Xingchen, who was lying in the medical pavilion, slowly woke up. He subconsciously touched his face, and his eyes suddenly became cold and stern. He vaguely remembered that he seemed to have been hit by a flying concealed weapon, and then lost consciousness. Damn it! I am Yi Xingchen. The martial emperor of a generation, who had once dominated the continent, was actually tricked by a hidden weapon. After resting for a while, he struggled to get up. Then he looked around and muttered, was he saved by someone else? Forget it. I'll leave this place first and find a blessed place with abundant spiritual energy to start cultivating. I'll strive to become a martial emperor as soon as possible. Yi Xingchen opened the door with a creak, but before he could walk out, he heard a bang. His entire face was hit by the soccer ball, and he fell straight to the ground. Li Fei. Su Xiaoma, who was in the martial arts practice field, roared, how did you pass the ball? The disciple named Li Fei scratched his head and said, Senior brother, it's my first time kicking. I can't find the right target. Go and pick up the ball. Okay. Li Fei hurriedly picked up the ball. The iron-bone disciples happily kicked the ball again. Although they did not even look like an amateur team, they had opened several meridians, and the force of their kicks was very strong. Damn it. Yi Xingchen covered his face and stood up. He was furious and said, you tricked me again. Bang! The soccer ball flew into the medical pavilion at a tricky angle again, directly hitting his head, and he fell straight to the ground again. Su Xiaoma said frantically, Li Fei, what kind of footwork is that? Li Fei scratched his head awkwardly, then picked up the ball and continued kicking. Bang! Yi Xingchen put one hand on the bed and slowly stood up. His eyes were filled with murderous intent, and he said, I'll remember what happened today. As he spoke, he hurriedly ran to the door and closed it, afraid that Yuan's hidden weapon would fly in again. Who are these people? Why did they plot against me? Yi Xingchen leaned against the wall in front of the door, and looked sideways at the martial arts practice field through the window. Creak. At this moment, the door was suddenly pushed open. Jun Changxiao walked in and saw that the bed was empty. He was puzzled and asked, "Where's that kid?" Plop. Yi Xingchen, who was squeezed behind the door, straightened his body and fell to the side. He was still foaming at the mouth. Jun Changxiao turned around and said, "Why is he hiding behind the door?" Half an hour later, the pain in Yi Xingchen's body gradually dissipated. He said with a cold gaze, "Who are you?" Huh. Jun Changxiao was surprised. This guy looked younger than him, but his eyes gave off a sense of vicissitudes, as if he had eaten a lot of food and walked a lot of meters. Not simple, not simple. Jun Changxiao said, "I'm Jun Changxiao, the leader of Ironbone Clan." Ironbone Clan? Yi Xingchen said lightly. Such a terrible name. I don't think it's a big sect. Oh damn. He thinks my sect's name is terrible, and says it's not a big sect. This guy is a bit arrogant. Jun Changxiao said, "Who are you?" Yi Xingchen raised his eyebrows and said proudly, "You just need to remember, I'm someone you can't afford to offend." This wasn't just a bit arrogant, it was extremely arrogant. Shua. Yi Xingchen got up and walked out of the door. He said lightly, "Don't provoke me in the future or else I will." His eyes flashed with killing intent. Bang! The football shot from outside and accurately hit his face. Maybe because it happened too many times he fainted again. When Yi Xingchen woke up, he found himself tied to a chair. "Leader, he's awake," Su Xiaoma said. Jun Changxiao walked in from outside and said with a smile, "Kid, I don't care how awesome you are. From today onwards, you're a member of Ironbone Clan." His intuition told him that this guy with sharp eyes must have a story, and his identity must not be simple. The sect just happened to have 399 spots, so he recruited him first. As for the missing spot, it was taken by Lu Wanshi. They just needed to fill in the form and stamp it. Yi Xingchen's eyes were gloomy. As one of the 10 great martial emperors, he had just been reborn and had been plotted against. In the end, he was even tied up. If this could be tolerated, what could be tolerated? "Kid," he said coldly, "I won't join, because your sect doesn't have the qualifications to accommodate me." Jun Changxiao said, "You think you're a martial emperor and can't be accommodated?" Yi Xingchen's eyes became more and more gloomy. He looked very scary. At this time, according to the plot of the reincarnated main character, being looked down upon by the villainous sect leader would be a proper face-slapping mode. In reality, Jun Changxiao leaned over and said, "I'll give you 3 to consider, or I won't be polite." "Are you threatening me?" Yi Xingchen said. Jun Changxiao retracted his body and waved his hand. "Not only am I threatening you, I'm also daring to hit you." Swoosh. Su Xiaoma punched him in the face and said arrogantly, "It's your fortune that the sect leader likes you. Why are you acting like a peerless expert with a stinky face?" Yi Xingchen exploded in anger. "You still dare to glare at me?" Su Xiaoma raised his fist again and began to violently destroy him. After a while he was beaten black and blue. Yi Xingchen, Knight Emperor. An existence that couldn't be provoked was reduced to this state. It made people sigh. However, they still compromised in the end, because they were moved to the martial arts field. Dozens of disciples stood far away with soccer balls under their feet. If they didn't agree, they would kick them until they agreed. Chapter 80. Yi Xingchen compromised. It wasn't that he didn't have a backbone, but that he was a young man who had just been reborn. He was only at the first level of the Meridian Opening Realm, so he couldn't fight back. Moreover, the hidden weapons that these Ironbone disciples used to kick him had at least a few hundred kilograms of force. His small body couldn't withstand it at all. It didn't matter if Yi Xingchen could become a martial emperor in the future, or if he could pull down the empress from her pedestal. He was just a weakling who had just been reborn. He could only choose to endure in order to not die. Despicable guy, despicable Ironbone clan. Wait until I've successfully cultivated the Taishan Sutra. And when my realm increases, I'll trample all of you under my feet. Yi Xingchen roared in his heart. How angry and unreconciled were they? But then again, Why did Jun Changsha want to recruit Yi Xingchen? In his opinion, someone who could reveal the vicissitudes of life in his eyes must have experienced something. It was easier than cultivating an ignorant young man. The next day, under the witness of the 99 disciples, Lu Wanshi and the tied-up Yi Xingchen filled in the forms according to the procedure, and officially became Iron Bone's 101st and 102nd disciples. Ding! Sect member, 102500. Ding! Sect contribution, 274500. Jun Changsha said, Qingyang, give them the uniforms. Yes. Li Qingyang walked over with a few sets of male and female sect uniforms. Lu Wanshi took them and smiled sweetly. Thank you, sect leader. Thank you, second senior brother. She had been envious of this unique sect uniform for a long time. Today she finally got it. After Yi Xingchen was untied, he unwillingly took the sect uniform and said hatefully in his heart, I'll let you be arrogant for a while. Once I've comprehended the Taishan Sutra, I'll definitely take your life. Do Xingchen follow me? Jun Changsha brought the two of them to the main hall, and threw them 2 I Jing Jing books, saying, This is our sect's entry-level mental cultivation method. Take it and cultivate it first. Remember, don't pass it on to others. He had just spent 10 contribution points to make a maximum of 1,000 copies for backup. Yi Xingchen took the brand new secret manual and thought disdainfully, How can this trashy mantra catch my eye? Lu Wanshi happily hugged the secret book and said with a smile, Thank you, sect master. Du will definitely work hard to cultivate. You're so happy just because of a low-level mental cultivation method. What an ordinary person. Yi Xingchen looked down on Yi Jingjing from the bottom of his heart. It was understandable. After all, he had the Sutra of Taishan, not to mention that he had fallen for it once. In the beginning, Lu Wanshi was not a disciple, and lived in the cafeteria. Now she was given a separate room when she entered, right next to Lu Qianqian. Yi Xingchen had also been assigned a residence, but when he saw the inner courtyard, which was filled with terraces and pavilions, he was secretly surprised. A 9th-rate sect, but the construction is not bad. Fine. Let's start here and start this emperor's road to return to the peak. He walked into the room. He originally wanted to cultivate the Sutra of Taishan, but his hand was impulsive and opened Yi Jingjing. Why would I have the thought of looking at a trashy mental cultivation method? Maybe I'm bored. Yi Xingchen laughed at himself and locked his gaze on the chants recorded on the front page. Gradually, his expression froze and finally, he could not help but exclaim, Divine mental cultivation method. As a former martial emperor, Yi Xingchen was more authoritative than Lu Qianqian and Li Qingyang. He only roughly understood and judged the quality. Moreover, it was a divine body refining mental cultivation method. Yi Xingchen said solemnly, A 9th-rate sect would have such a precious body refining mental cultivation method. Am I dreaming? Or today, after thousands of years, divine body refining mental cultivation methods are as common as dogs, and saint body refining mental cultivation methods are everywhere? As he continued to study, his state of mind surged. This Yi Jingjing seemed simple, but it actually contained profound meaning. It was definitely a body refining mental cultivation method that could only be found by chance. Back then, this emperor's body was not well tempered. It could not withstand the tearing of space, and could not take the first step to break through the void. Now that I've been reborn, not only do I have the Sutra of Taishan, but I also have a divine body refining mental cultivation method. Even if I have a trashy body, becoming a martial emperor, and breaking through the void will be a piece of cake. Ha ha ha. Yi Xingchen laughed. Whoosh, the ball of happiness flew in from the open window, and directly hit his face. Su Xiaomo's voice could be heard. It's the middle of the night, can't you let me sleep? Damn it. Yi Xingchen covered his head and said angrily, Kid, this emperor will remember you. Night came, and all was silent. Jun Changsha was not in the mood to sleep. He sat on a stool in the stone pavilion, as if he was thinking about something. The people who tried to assassinate me in the main hall must have been sent by the Spirit Spring Sect. Who sent the group of black-clothed people outside Liang City? Jun Changshao summed up the trouble he caused when he came to this world. After thinking about it, he felt that the Spirit Spring sect had the most motive. Now that I've become a 5th grade martial disciple, and have the opening seal talisman, it's time to go to the Spirit Spring sect to seek justice. His eyes turned cold and sharp. Jun Changshao did not think that the Spirit Spring sect's assassins would give up after failing to assassinate him. Instead of passively being beaten, it was better to take the initiative to attack, and let them know that he was not to be trifled with. Whoosh! Suddenly, there was a slight sound of wind breaking in his ears. Before his breakthrough, Jun Changshao would not have been able to detect it. But after becoming a martial disciple, his eyes, ears, nose and other aspects had improved. Even if a grain of sand fell in front of him, he would be able to hear it. Someone's here. He suddenly got up and dodged to the side. Just as he retreated, a black shadow rushed out from the dark. The sword in its hand slashed across his back, almost hitting him. Jun Changshao stabilized his body and pulled out the Desert Eagle to shoot. But he saw the black shadow hit nothing. The tip of its foot lightly tapped the ground and instantly disappeared into the night. He frowned. The system said, the host should buy a sect protection array as soon as possible to protect the sect. Otherwise, others can come and go as they wish. Do you have it in the beginner's shop? Jun Chang laughed. The system said, yes, it depends on the face to refresh. Even if it depends on the face, it still has to refresh. After all, it comes and goes as it pleases. It's really annoying. Moreover, the one who attacked was only him. If it attacked the disciples, it would be troublesome. Ah! Suddenly there was a scream. Jun Changshao rushed into the male disciple's room and pushed the door open. He saw Yi Xingchen covering his butt and angrily saying, what kind of bastard is this, to dare to sneak attack me? What happened? Li Qingyang and Su Xiaomo rushed over in their pajamas with swords in hand. When they saw Yi Xingchen's butt spurting blood, their mouths twitched. There's an assassin who wants to assassinate me, Jun Changshao said calmly. Wake all the disciples up and gather in the main hall. Take turns guarding to prevent the assassin from taking advantage of the situation. Yes. Li Qingyang and Su Xiaoma hurriedly went to gather the disciples. Soon, all the male and female disciples gathered in the main hall. Yi Xingchen, whose butt was stabbed, also came. He roared in his heart. If you have a grudge, go assassinate him. What's the use of assassinating a new disciple like me? Sigh. The assassin probably thought that he was the weakest in the sect. Jun Changshao was very angry now. He sat on the 1,000-year sandalwood chair and fiercely scrolled down the store. Ding! Sect contribution points, 254500. After the refresh, the store changed again. Not only was there no sect protection array, even the other items were mostly useless. Even if they were useless, he had to choose. Jun Changshao bought a refreshing cigar, which cost him 10 points. Refresh again. Jun Changshao scrolled down the store again. Ding! Sect contribution points, 234500. The new items were all daily necessities, such as thermos mugs, feather dusters, ping-pong paddles, and so on. Jun Changshao clenched his teeth and bought a feather duster that cost 10 contribution points. Its purpose was to clean up. Ding! Sect contribution points, 214500. Ding! Sect contribution points, 194500. Ding! Sect contribution points, 174500. When Jun Changshao refreshed the store for the 5th time, his face was filled with joy. This was because the store finally had an item with the word Sect Protection Array. Chapter 81. P.S. There was a bug in the previous chapter. The protagonist refreshed the store and was supposed to buy an item. I forgot. A reader reminded me. It has been changed. The content and consumption are slightly different from the previous chapter. You can check it again. Jun Changshao refreshed the store 5 times and spent 90 contribution points. 40 of them were spent on unimportant items, which made his heart ache. But fortunately, the sect protection formation was refreshed. It was worth it. He clicked on the details item, beginner grade Sect protection formation effect. After use, it can be used to set up a defensive formation in the Sect to prevent non-Sect members from entering. Time limit, use immediately. Price, 50 contribution points. Note: if the formation is successfully set up, it will be activated by default. It will consume 1 contribution point every day. Buy. Jun Changxiao didn't consider that this was a consumable formation and directly bought it. Ding! The host has spent 50 contribution points and obtained beginner grade Sect protection formation X1. It has been transferred to the space ring. Ding! Sect contribution points. 124,500. The beginner grade Sect protection formation was the same as the spirit formation. It had a small flag and a manual. I will set it up at dawn, Jun Changxiao secretly said. There were assassins lurking in the dark. Ironbone disciples stayed in the main hall for the night. Several disciples were responsible for changing shifts. During this time, Su Xiaoma took the initiative to bandage Yi Xingchen's wounds and wrapped both of his buttocks with bandages. The night passed uneventfully. After daybreak, Jun Changxiao ordered his disciples to form groups of a few people and set up a perimeter to set up a formation. Shwa, shwa. Small flags were inserted outside the Sect wall. After half an hour of setting up, they finally surrounded the Sect. Xiao. Light flashed and formed a light shield that covered the entire iron bone. It immediately became transparent. Jun Changxiao stood at the gate and reached out his hand to touch the transparent barrier. He didn't find any changes. It was hard to believe that there was a formation in front of him. The system said, the Sect protection formation will only appear when an outsider enters or attacks. It will be hidden in the space normally. How strong is it? Jun Changxiao asked. The system said, it should be able to withstand the attack of a Wuzong-level powerhouse from the Starfall continent. Jun Changxiao was relieved. The system said, the level of the beginner-grade Sect protection formation is a little low. If the host finds a higher level one in the future, you can replace it. Yes, Jun Changxiao said. Tell me, what is the Sect lacking right now? If it weren't for the system notification, he wouldn't have known about the existence of the Sect protection formation. Therefore, he had to ask about it first. The system said, the Sect is still missing the divisions of personal disciple, inner disciple, outer disciple, vice Sect leader, elder, and so on. It is still missing the forging pavilion, martial skill pavilion, mental cultivation technique pavilion. No rush, no rush. Jun Changxiao said, take it slow. There were only 100 or so direct disciples and inner disciples, so there was no need to do so for the time being. As for the positions of vice Sect leader and elder, there were currently no disciples who were qualified for them, so they had to take it one step at a time. Now that there was a Sect protecting grand formation, Jun Changxiao felt relieved. The disciples were the same as usual, either cultivating or playing football. As for Yi Xingchen, he also began his first cultivation after his rebirth. He focused more on cultivating the Yi Jingjing. After all, in his previous life, he had suffered a loss because his body was not molded to the extreme. In this life, he had to focus on building a good foundation. However, he, who only had a low-grade spirit root, was the same as an ordinary disciple. If he wanted to cultivate successfully, he would need to spend time. This matter told us that even if one dominated the continent in his previous life and was reborn as an ordinary person, it was impossible to immediately defy the heavens. Jun Changxiao's contribution points could be considered rich. He opened the spirit energy array and let the disciples cultivate. Then he waved to Yi Xingchen and said, come, come, I will bring you to a fun place. A fun place? Yi Xingchen finally stood in front of the muscle molding machine. Go in, Jun Changxiao said. Damn it. This guy actually wants this emperor to crawl through the dog hole. Shwa. Jun Changxiao directly pressed him in and started the muscle molding machine. The time was 10 hours. Pung, pung, pung. Late at night, Yi Xingchen was lying on the bed like a puddle of mud. His eyes revealed that he had nothing to live for. It must be because this emperor's posture was wrong that he ended up in such a state. Lu Qianqian, Li Qingyang, and the others stood in front of their respective rooms. Their hands were on the hilt of their swords, obviously waiting for the assassin to appear. Peng Peng. On the small martial arts field, Su Xiaoma was skillfully tossing the ball. For him, who paid attention to speed, kicking the ball could be a good tool to train his footwork. The one with the most skill was still Jun Changshao. He was sitting in the study, holding a bamboo slip called Records of the Grand Historian. The author was Sima Qian. This was bought when the system refreshed. It could be considered as a cramming of Chinese history in another world. Xiao. At this moment, the sound of wind breaking could be heard. Damn it! The assassin was in the sect. Jun Changshao, who thought that he could rest easy, hurriedly retreated. However, the ice-cold sharp sword still pierced towards him. Soon he couldn't dodge it. Helpless, he could only raise the records of the Grand Historian in his hands to protect his vital parts. Ding! The sharp sword pierced the bamboo slip, producing a metallic sound and sending sparks everywhere. The black-clothed man's hand was numb from the impact. His eyes were filled with astonishment. However, he couldn't care about anything else and jumped out of the window. Jun Changshao was also dumbfounded. Is the thing in my hand a bamboo slip or a piece of iron? Without time to be dazed, Jun Changshao jumped out of the window. However, the black-clothed man had already rushed out of the Desert Eagle's shooting range. At this moment, Lu Qianqian and Li Qingyang heard the news and rushed over. They were about to chase after the disappearing shadow. No need to chase. Jun Changshao cupped his hands and said, "No need to chase." Lu Qianqian and Li Qingyang were stunned. Soon after, they heard a pung sound. They saw the black-clothed man's 4 limbs and face sticking to the flowing light barrier. Then with a zzz sound he slid down. Formation, the two exclaimed in unison. Jun Changshao rolled up his sleeves and strode over. The Desert Eagle in his hand was already loaded, and the safety was pulled. He pointed the gun at the assassin who had fallen on the ground and shouted, "You motherfucker, run!" The black-clothed man suppressed the dizziness from the impact and flew to the side again. In the end, he still crashed into the Sect protecting formation. What's going on? Su Xiaomo, Tianqi, and the other disciples rushed over. When they saw the black-clothed man crouching under the flowing light barrier, they were immediately dumbfounded. What is that flowing light? Is it a formation? Since when did our sect have this thing? Everyone found it hard to understand. The black-clothed man hiding in the inner court was also puzzled. After all, nothing happened when he sneaked in. How could there be a formation? Bang! Just at this moment, Jun Changshao strode over. His right fist, which was infused with spiritual energy, smashed into his face. Like a cannonball, he crashed into the wall of the room. This assassin was only a 4th-grade martial disciple. The reason why he could appear and disappear unpredictably was because of his exquisite movement technique. Now that he had been seen and lost his advantage, he would definitely not be able to withstand the attack of a 5th-grade martial disciple. Jun Changshao walked over. He placed the gun at his waist, picked up the bamboo block, and smashed it fiercely. Needless to say, the bamboo block that used history as a mirror was quite handy. In a short while, the assassin's head was full of blood, and he was lying on the ground dispiritedly. The corner of Yi Xingqian's mouth twitched as he stood in the distance. He said, "This guy is too cruel." Ding! Congratulations to host for completing the hidden mission, Nowhere to Hide. The reward is 30 contribution points. Ding! Sect contribution points, 153,500. Damn. For this guy, I spent so many contribution points and only received 30 points. Seal his meridians and lock him up. Yes, a gold medal assassin, on his 265th assassination attempt, was accidentally captured and became a prisoner. He was sent to a sealed room. The assassin that was previously captured saw the pattern of his fingerprints and was shocked. Even an assassin of this level has fallen in the hands of Iron Bone. Jun Changshao stood outside. Through the crack in the door, he caught the change in the assassin's eyes. He coldly said, It must be another one sent by the Spirit Spring Sect. The next day, he handed over the sect's affairs to Li Qingyang and went down the mountain alone. On his belt was the Desert Eagle and the pocket-sized hard-to-keep blade. The direction he was heading to Spirit Spring Mountain. Senior sister, the sect master seems to be very angry. Watching the furious figure disappear on the mountain road, Li Qingyang said solemnly. Lu Qianqian leaned against the door and said indifferently, "He sent assassins to ambush us one after another. If it were me, I would definitely kill my way to their door. Will the sect master be okay? You should be more concerned about whether the Spirit Spring sect can still exist." When he heard his eldest brother talking about the dead second and third brothers, his eyes flashed with murderous intent. The four of them had cultivated together, entered the Sacred Spring Sect together, and started their own business together. Their feelings for each other were extremely deep. Who would have thought that their last parting would be their last? Second brother, third brother. Wei Yishi placed the teacup on the table. His gaze became unusually gloomy as he said, "No matter what price I have to pay, Big Brother will avenge all of you." The so-called price was to hire an assassin with a large sum of money. To borrow Teacher Ma's words, "It's a lot of fishing, Big Brother," Wei Yinu said hatefully. "After the assassin from the Drizzle building kills Jun Changshao, I will personally go to the Iron Bone and use his disciples' blood to pay tribute to second brother and third brother's spirit in heaven." Wei Yishi said, "Iron Bone is a member of the 100 Sect Alliance after all. Be careful when you go, don't be discovered." Wei Yinu's face was filled with murderous intent. He couldn't wait to go to the Iron Bone and start a massacre to pay tribute to his two brothers. Wei Yishi took another sip of tea and said with disdain, "I heard that kid even brought his disciple to participate in the sect competition. He really overestimated himself." "TSK. Wei Yinu snorted coldly. "He doesn't know his own worth. Participating in the sect competition is to become a joke to others." Wei Yishi put his elbows on the armrest and interlocked his fingers, saying, "I wonder who will be the champion of this year's sect competition. I heard that the sixth-rate sect, the Sound End Valley, also sent their disciple to participate. If there are no accidents, they should be the champion." Wei Yinu said. Although the two brothers had never left the mountain, they were still quite concerned about the sect competition. "Report." At this moment, a disciple ran in from outside and said while panting, "Patriarch Elder, this disciple has just returned from Yaoyang City. I heard." "Heard what?" I heard that Iron Bone's disciple, Xiao Ziji, was the champion of this year's sect competition." "What?" Wei Yishi and Wei Yinu stood up with disbelief in their eyes. The disciple took 2 deep breaths and said, "And in his 4 disciples even took the top 4 places." "Impossible," Wei Yinu said in disbelief. "It's already good enough for their disciples to advance to the second round. How could they take the top 4 places?" Wei Yishi said calmly, "Is the news accurate?" The disciple said, "Yaoyang City even posted a notice. I saw it with my own eyes." Wei Yinu was dumbfounded. Every time the martial competition ended, every city in Azure Sun County would post a notice to announce the champion. This was definitely not a rumor or a false rumor. Wei Yishi frowned and said, "The champion of the sect competition is at least a second-grade martial disciple. Are Iron Bone's disciples that strong?" The disciple said, "I heard from the cultivators who returned from Liang City that Iron Bone's disciples are all very strong. The weakest one is a first-grade martial disciple." Plop. Wei Yinu sat down with a wonderful expression on his face. Just now, he was thinking of waiting for Jun Changshao to be killed by the assassins before going to the Iron Bone. If the news of them taking the top 4 places was true, he would be sending himself to death. Fourth brother. Wei Yishi also realized and said seriously, "Regardless of whether the news is true or not, you must not go to Iron Bone." Yes. Wei Yinu said hurriedly. He did not want to go, but they came. Bang! Suddenly, a loud sound came, startling Wei Yishi and Wei Inu. The two hurried out of the main hall and saw that the expensive red door had been smashed to pieces. Ta! Jun Changxiao walked in with one foot. On his shoulder was a plaque with the words Spirit Spring Sect written on it. In his other hand was a smoking desert eagle, and in his mouth was a cigar. The cigar was also bought from the shop. Although it was used to refresh one's mind, it was more important to show off. Jun Changxiao, Wei Inu said with his eyes wide open. He was the Iron Bones sect leader? Wei Yishi frowned, and the gloominess in his eyes became more and more intense. Boom! Jun Changxiao put down the plaque and put one hand on it. He looked at the courtyard that was bigger than his own sect and said, "It's a pity to destroy such a good place." Destroyed a pity? Wei Yishi said with a gloomy gaze. Sect leader Jun, you came here. That's right. Jun Changxiao raised his gun and pointed at him, saying proudly, I came to destroy your sect. You're courting death. Wei Inu could not suppress his anger. He summoned a brand new broadsword from his spatial ring and was about to rush over. Bang! The Desert Eagle's muzzle spat out fire. The bullet condensed from the crystal core turned into a stream of light and shot out, directly penetrating his chest. Wei Inu stopped and slowly lowered his head. Looking at the hole in his chest, his eyes were filled with fear. The broadsword in his hand fell, and he knelt on the ground. Chapter 83. Wei Inu only saw a stream of light shooting towards him, and then his chest was pierced. He knelt on the ground dead. Even in death, he was wondering what kind of hidden weapon could so powerfully penetrate his body and penetrate his heart. Puff! Jun Changxiao blew on the smoking muzzle, lightly saying, Your death was worth it. This bullet of mine, if converted to silver, is worth dozens of taels. It was definitely worth it. With Master Jun's strength, he could easily kill Wei Inu with his bare hands. Shooting was a waste of bullets. Fourth brother. Wei Yishi's expression was sluggish, his eyes gradually turning red. It was not that he wanted to cry, but that he was extremely angry. His three younger brothers had followed him since childhood. They either bullied people together, or were bullied together. Now that they had died one by one, it was a heavy blow to him. Thump thump thump. At this moment, the alarmed disciples of the Spirit Spring Sect rushed out of the inner courtyard. There were hundreds of them. When they saw the fourth elder kneeling on the ground with a hole in his chest, their eyes widened. Who killed him? For the first time, everyone looked at Jun Changxiao. Especially when they saw the plaque of the sect being taken down. They knew that this guy was here to cause trouble. It's him. The green scarf martial artist who had his face stepped on in the wild looked at Jun Changxiao, who was holding a tree root in his mouth, his face showing surprise. In other words, the reason why the Iron Bone sect and the Spirit Spring sect had reached this stage of life and death, the Green Scarf brothers' contribution could not go unnoticed. Because if he did not deliberately approach Lu Qianqian, there would not be a conflict. Sigh. How to say it? It was not entirely his fault. The main reason was that the Spirit Spring sect was too protective of their disciples. Knowing that their disciples were beaten, they insisted on taking revenge. On the stage of grievances, Wei Yishi's killing intent expanded the conflict to an irreconcilable point. If it were any other ninth-rate sect, they would have brought their disciples to apologize during the recruitment. However, the person involved was Jun Changxiao, an existence similar to an iron plate. Endure for a while, and the wind is calm. Take a step back and the sky will be clear. The Spirit Spring sect could not endure, and was unwilling to retreat. They could only use the lives of their three elders to learn a lesson. Unfortunately, Wei Yishi hadn't learned his lesson. He clenched his fists, his eyes almost popping out of their sockets as he said in a cold voice, Kill him. The disciples didn't dare to disobey the patriarch's order. They immediately drew their weapons and rushed over, surrounding Jun Changxiao. Brother Green Scarf was among them, and the anger in his eyes was no less than the sect leaders. Who? Jun Changxiao took a puff of his cigarette and blew out a smoke ring. He said, If I were you, I wouldn't send my disciples to their deaths. Brat, cut the crap and die. One of the disciples was eager to show off in front of the patriarch, and immediately brandished his saber to kill. Jun Changshao put away the desert eagle, and the cold-edged sword appeared out of thin air. With a twist of his wrist, a cold sword light flashed. CICI. There was a sword wound on his neck, and blood was spurting out. That disciple dropped his weapon, and covered his wound with both hands. A muffled sound came from his throat, and he fell to the ground with a despairing look on his face. Hiss! The Spirit Spring Sect disciple who was about to attack, upon seeing his fourth senior brother, who was at the 10th stage of the channel opening stage, being killed in a single strike, was so shocked that his face lost all color. Go! Go! Wei Yishi angrily roared. Why didn't he go? Because he knew that the shiny silver object Jun Changshao had just used must be a terrifying hidden weapon. If he made a move, he would be killed just like his fourth brother. Why did he let his disciples go? Because he knew that Jun Changxiao's hidden weapon should be similar to a crossbow, and there would not be a lot of bullets. He let his disciples swarm him, and if they could kill him, then they would kill him. To put it bluntly, he was using his disciples as cannon fodder. The Spirit Spring Sect disciples obviously did not think that in the eyes of the patriarch, they were so worthless, but they were still willing to listen to his orders, and rushed over with their weapons. A group of pitiful people. Jun Changshao shook his head, and with the cold-edged sword in one hand, he faced the incoming Spirit Spring Sect disciples. Shwa! 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 The 9 overlapping wave sword was displayed, and layers of energy accompanied by sword chi appeared, spreading out like ripples. Puchi! Puchi! The cold sword light swept past, and the 10 or so Spirit Spring Sect disciples who rushed in front of Jun Changshao all had their throats slit, and fell to the ground like blooming flowers. Drip drip. The tip of the cold-edged sword pointed downwards, and drops of blood dripped down, splattering on the stone floor. Standing in front of dozens of corpses, Jun Changxiao's eyes flashed coldly, as if he was a killing god from hell. The Spirit Spring Sect disciples were frightened, and surrounded him with their weapons in fear, but did not dare to rush over. Jun Changxiao raised his head, and pointed his sword at Wei Yishi, saying, "The person I want to kill today is him. If you don't want to be souls under my sword, get out of here." The Spirit Spring Sect disciples were not heinous bandits, and he did not want to kill too much. So this time, the so-called extermination of the sect was to eliminate the Wei brothers. Kid die. Just at this moment, a disciple raised his sword and slashed down from behind. Jun Changshao, who thought he was merciful enough, had a cold look in his eyes, and swung the cold-edged sword. Whoosh! With a flash of sword light, the martial artist's weapon was cut off, and his head was also chopped off. Kill! Kill! The Spirit Spring Sect disciples took the opportunity to attack from all directions. Jun Changshao no longer suppressed it, and his 5th grade martial disciple cultivation was fully released. He poured his spirit energy into the cold-edged sword, and it instantly emitted a cold and gloomy aura. Since you are so stubborn, don't blame me for starting a massacre in the Spirit Spring Mountain. While speaking, he suddenly swung his sword, dragging out a long shadow of the sword. Ding! 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 Wherever the cold-edged sword passed, the swords and sabers were all broken. Some of the sabers and swords even pierced the legs of the Spirit Spring Sect disciples. They did not have time to scream, because the second sword had already mercilessly slashed over. Whoosh! The cold-edged sword passed by, bringing along a cold light. Puchi! Puchi! The 20 or so Spirit Spring Sect disciples who rushed over stood still, and a neat small sword mark appeared on their Adam's apple. They immediately lowered their heads. Jun Changshao walked past them, and the 20 or so drops of blood on the cold edge sword were instantly evaporated by his spirit energy. Plop! After only a few steps, the 20 Spirit Spring Sect disciples staggered and fell to the ground. These people's cultivation were only at the 5th or 6th stage of the channel opening realm. With the cold-edged sword, and the strength of a 5th grade martial disciple, Jun Changshao could easily kill them. Wei Yishi was terrified. At this moment, he had roughly deduced that the strength of this Iron Bone Sect master was not lower than a 4th grade martial disciple. The patriarch of the Spirit Spring Sect was not the only one who was frightened, but the disciples as well. Although they surrounded Jun Changshao, they also followed him step by step and retreated. Their eyes were filled with fear. Killing fellow sect members was like cutting grass, so they must be afraid. Go, go. Wei Yishi roared like a madman. He did not care about the lives of his disciples. As long as he could kill Jun Changshao, even if they all died, it did not matter. However, Jun Changshao was too strong. The Spirit Spring Sect disciples did not dare to rush up. Even facing his cold eyes, the hands holding their weapons were trembling violently. This was a killing god. Whoever went up would die. Restrain, restrain. Shua. Jun Changshao raised his sword, and a cold light flashed. A cold aura spread out, making everyone's scalp numb. They immediately made the wise choice to retreat. Retreat as far as possible. You all. Wei Yishi's anger soared to the sky. He originally wanted to rely on his disciples to delay, and then take the opportunity to escape. But now they all ran away. Jun Changshao, who had no disciples blocking his way, rushed forward like an arrow. The cold-edged sword that was infused with spirit energy drew a cold sword light. Not good. Pucci. Just as Wei Yishi's heart was filled with a strong sense of crisis, his head flew out and fell in front of the plaque in the courtyard. A line of blood splattered on the 3 words Spirit Spring Sect. Patriarch. The Spirit Spring Sect disciples stood in place stupidly. On this day, a fire suddenly broke out on the Spirit Spring Mountain, burning for a full day and night. The Spirit Spring Sect that occupied the mountain said goodbye to Jianghu. Who? Jun Changshao, who had descended the mountain, stood on a boulder and took a deep puff of his cigar. Looking at the distant scenery, he whispered, "Why is there no taste of nicotine?" The system said, "This is an electronic cigarette." Damn. Chapter 84. The Spirit Spring Sect, that had been established for less than 10 years, had been reduced to ashes in a huge fire. More than 200 disciples, because of the death of the patriarch and the elder, had scattered. Perhaps they would join other sects. Perhaps they would go and live an ordinary life. But the scene of Jun Changshao killing people would forever be engraved in their hearts, becoming an indelible memory of fear. In the wilderness, Brother Green Hat knelt in front of the grave, clenching his fist tightly. Patriarch, elder, disciple will one day avenge you, avenge the Spirit Spring Sect. Standing up, carrying his luggage, he resolutely walked towards the east. There was a colossus there called the Spirit Spring Sect. Jun Changshao. Brother Green Hat's voice rippled. My name is Dai Lu, remember it clearly. These words, he only dared to shout in the forest where there was no one around. Big news, big news. The Spirit Spring Sect was set on fire yesterday. The entire sect was reduced to ashes, and the disciples all ran away. In Yaoyang City, the sky had just begun to brighten, and a martial artist was shouting on the streets. This news was like a wildfire, instantly spreading through the streets, every household, and even every nook and cranny. The first reaction of the martial artists in the city was, "This early in the morning? What kind of joke is this?" When people went to the Spirit Spring Mountain one after another, and saw the ruins of the sect, they firmly believed that the Spirit Spring Sect, that had been tyrannical for many years, was really gone. My mother, who is so daring to set fire to the Spirit Spring Sect. Patriarch Wei and Elder Wei. I heard from the disciples that escaped that the patriarch and elder of the Spirit Spring Sect were all killed. This sect can be considered to have been completely removed from the Jianghu. Who killed them? I'm afraid you won't believe it, but the one who killed the Wei brothers was the head of the Ironbone Sect. Ironbone Sect? Isn't that a ninth-rate sect? How did he have the strength to destroy the Spirit Spring Sect? Did he invite some expert? He didn't invite any expert, it was just him alone. Damn, is the sect leader of a ninth-rate sect that awesome? The Spirit Spring Sect and the Ironbone Sect clashed in Qingyang City. I thought that the Ironbone Sect would cease to exist, but I didn't expect that the Spirit Spring Sect would be destroyed instead. Behind the Spirit Spring Sect is the Holy Spring Sect. If they knew about this, they would definitely go to the Ironbone Sect to denounce us. Not just the Sacred Spring Sect, the 100 Sect Alliance will not let Ironbone off either. After all, there is a rule that sects in the Alliance cannot commit acts of extermination. Yaoyang City was completely shaken. Whether it was martial artists or ordinary people, they were all talking about the destruction of the Spirit Spring Sect and the Ironbone Sect leader. The news quickly spread throughout the Azure Sun County. The Longblade Sect, the Tiger's Howl Sect, and the other sects were in an uproar after receiving the news of the Spirit Spring Sect's destruction. What kind of joke was this? The Spirit Spring Sect was destroyed by the Ironbone Sect? When more and more news came in, they had no choice but to accept this fact. Azure Sun City, City Lord's mansion. City Lord Xie also received the news. He stood in his study with his hands behind his back and said, "First, you led your disciples to become the champion of the sect competition, and then you destroyed the Spirit Spring Sect. Sect leader June, you really are someone who can achieve great things." However, he shook his head and said, although the Holy Spring Sect does not recognize the Spirit Spring Sect, the Four-Way Brothers were still disciples of the sect. You killed them, which is equivalent to provoking a fifth-rate sect. Reporting, a guard walked in and cupped his hands. The 100 Sect Alliance leader is here to visit. Heh, City Lord Xie said. You came quite quickly. He rubbed his temples and said, "Please enter the guest hall." Yes, the guest hall. A middle-aged man walked in and cupped his hands. City Lord Xie, long time no see. I've missed you. City Lord Xie gestured for him to sit down. Is Alliance Leader Qin here for the Ironbone Sect? That's right. Alliance Leader Qin said angrily. Ironbone Sect is a member of the 100 Sect Alliance. It is intolerable for them to destroy a sect. I am here today in hopes that City Lord can. City Lord Xie interrupted. Ironbone Sect may be a member of the 100 Sect Alliance, but it is still within the borders of Azure Sun City. I don't care which faction you represent, you cannot touch it. Otherwise, you will be making an enemy of the 3.6 million citizens of Azure Sun City. Alliance Leader Qin's face darkened. City Lord Xie, you want to protect Ironbone Sect? City Lord Xie tapped his finger on the table. Don't misunderstand. I am not protecting Ironbone Sect. I am protecting the citizens of Azure Sun City. Good. Alliance Leader Qin said. Since that is the case, let's follow the rules of Azure Sun City. Jun Changshao, a citizen of your city, killed the Wei brothers and more than 30 disciples. What should be his punishment? Not guilty, City Lord Xie said indifferently. Pa. Alliance Leader Qin slammed the table and said angrily, City Lord Xie, you don't want the 100 Sect Alliance to interfere, and you don't want to punish Jun Changshao. This is too obvious. Pa. City Lord Xie slammed the table and shouted. The Spirit Spring Sect hired assassins from the Drizzle building to enter Azure Sun City. I want to ask, who gave them the guts to do so? Very fierce, very strong. Drizzle building assassins? Alliance Leader Qin was stunned. Obviously, he did not know the inside story. City Lord Xie said coldly. The conflict between the Spirit Spring Sect and Ironbone Sect was just a small one. Wei Yishi held a grudge in his heart. He first colluded with the bandits, then hired assassins, and did all sorts of despicable things. He deserved to be destroyed. Alliance Leader Qin was silent. He knew that since Xie Guangquan said so, there must be evidence. Alliance Leader Qin. City Lord Xie said indifferently. If Jun Changshao had done something heartless, you don't need to come and punish him. This city lord would have already done it. Alliance Leader Qin calmed down and said gently, How about this, City Lord Xie? Please call Jun Changshao over. I Qin will speak with him as the Alliance leader. Xie Guangquan said, Since Ironbone is a member of your alliance, as the Alliance leader, you can naturally speak with him. Let's meet at the Star Moon Pavilion. Alliance Leader Qin understood that this guy was afraid that he would act recklessly, so he purposely set the meeting in his own territory. Thus, he compromised and said, Please inform Sect Leader Jun that we will meet at the Star Moon Pavilion 3 days later. Saying so, He stood up and cupped his hands. Goodbye. I won't send you off, Xie Guangquan said. After Alliance leader Qin left, he sat down and drank some tea. He shook his head and said, Sect leader Jun, this city lord almost turned against the 100 Sect alliance for you. City lord Xie, you can't say that. Jun Changshao walked out from the inner screen and smiled. You and I are working together. It's a win-win situation. Saying so, he placed 2 beginner-grade healing pills on the table. So this guy had been in the study all this while. He was the one who told Xie Guangquan about the destruction of the Spirit Spring Sect and Wei Yishi's actions. Jun Changshao had predicted that the 100 Sect alliance would denounce him, so he thought of a countermeasure in advance. Using 2 beginner-grade healing pills as the price, he asked City Lord Xie to help suppress the matter. Destroying a sect was a big deal. Jun Changshao knew the importance of dealing with the aftermath. Otherwise, how could he survive in the falling star continent where everyone was scheming against each other? Xie Guangquan picked up one of the beginner-grade healing pills and said, Sect leader Jun, does this pill really have the ability to heal injuries quickly? Jun Changshao said, Is there a need for Jun to lie to City Lord Xie? Xie Guangquan met his gaze and laughed. You're right. You and I are working together. It's a win-win situation. Jun Changshao stood up and said, I still have matters to attend to in the sect. I will take my leave first. Don't forget, 3 days later at the Star Moon Pavilion, Xie Guangquan said, I will keep my promise. Jun Changshao said as he walked out of the hall and climbed over the wall to leave the city lord's residence. Xie Guangquan placed the pill in front of his nose and sniffed it. He muttered, After destroying the Spirit Spring Sect, he came to me to help suppress the matter. This kid is really not simple. Chapter 85. There were many large and small sects in Azure Sun County. A few decades ago, they formed an alliance and elected sect leader Qin Haoran of the 6th-rate Vast Qi sect as the first alliance leader. Their aim was to develop harmoniously and advance hand in hand. Other than the high-ranked sects, most of the sects in Azure Sun County would choose to join and become a member of the alliance. If a sect did not join the 100 Sect alliance, they would be despised by the other sections. When sect leader Wang established the Ironbone sect, he treated everyone to a meal and gave them gifts in order to increase the sect's reputation. Unfortunately, his efforts had been wasted today because many sects in the alliance were unhappy with Jun Changshao's actions of destroying the Spirit Spring sect and publicly condemned him. When alliance leader Qin found out, he was also furious. He personally went to Azure Sun City to find City Lord Xie and hoped that he would not interfere with the alliance's matters. He decided to punish Ironbone severely. Although he was rejected, he would not give up. As the alliance leader, he decided to have a good talk with Ironbone sect leader at the Star Moon Pavilion 3 days later. When the higher-ups of the various sects found out, they praised the alliance leader's wisdom and were willing to accompany him. They planned to use their saliva to drown that arrogant fellow. When force was not enough to solve the problem, words became even more important. The news of the 100 Sect alliance leader meeting Ironbone at the Star Moon Pavilion and the destruction of the Spirit Spring sect spread throughout Azure Sun County. Indeed, the 100 Sect alliance was alerted. Jun Changshao has caused a huge trouble this time. He has to give an explanation. In my opinion, alliance leader Qin is afraid of the Spirit Spring sect and can only punish Ironbone. Many sect leaders have expressed that they want to attend the meeting. There will definitely be many sect leaders in Azure Sun City 3 days later. What meeting? It's obviously an interrogation of Ironbone. Yes, it's an interrogation. All the cultivators in the various cities were discussing. Some of them were looking forward to how the 100 Sect alliance would make things difficult for Jun Changshao 3 days later. Ironbone Main Hall. After returning, Jun Changshao leaned sideways and placed one leg on the chair. He supported his chin with one hand and said, I'm afraid there will be a banquet 3 days later. Sect leader, Li Qingyang asked weakly, did you really destroy the Spirit Spring sect? Okay, Jun Changshao replied. Li Qingyang said solemnly. The Spirit Spring Sect is a member of the 100 Sect Alliance. The sect leader will definitely be held accountable for destroying it. Jun Changshao walked down, patted his shoulder and said, In the sect, you're the only one who's able to consider things. Your personality is relatively steady. I'm very gratified. Li Qingyang was startled, and an ominous feeling rose in his heart. As expected, Jun Changshao said, that Yi Xingchen is a little troublemaker. As the second disciple, you should discipline him more strictly. If he does anything out of line, there's only one word to describe it: torture. After that, he patted his shoulder and left in a carefree manner. Li Qingyang stood where he was and counted with his fingers. With a confused expression he said, 2 words. Jun Changshao returned to his residence in the inner courtyard. He sat down cross-legged and circulated the body metamorphosis scripture to absorb spiritual energy. Ho ho! The spiritual energy of heaven and earth was drawn in, slowly enveloping him, forming a faint mist. The spiritual energy entered his body through his pores, gathering in his meridians, then guided to his dantian, and merged with it. On Starfall Continent, every realm will unlock a new ability. The ability of a martial disciple is to open up his dantian vortex. Don't underestimate this ability. The more energy and the purer it is, the stronger a martial disciple will be. After Jun Changshao broke through, what he needs to do is to continuously strengthen his dantian vortex, breaking through his limit again and again to reach a higher realm. After cultivating for a while, he shook his head in dissatisfaction, saying, Spirit roots are limited, relying on hard work is too slow. The system spoke. The host can consider refreshing the store. Maybe you can find a talent-altering liquid that can raise your dantian to a mid-grade spirit root. Jun Changshao opened the store. Ding! Contribution 140500. The 4 points less is because of the Spirit Energy Formation and Sect Protection Formation. New products appeared in the store. The first thing Jun Changshao saw was an item called Magically Altered Sound System. He was very sensitive to the word magically altered. So he clicked on the detailed introduction, item, Magically Altered Sound System. Introduction. A musical instrument that can play songs. Effect. Suitable for disciples' morning exercises. After turning on the sound system, divine music will play, and it can cultivate the mood. Special effect. The host's mind can lock onto targets within 100 meters. When they hear the divine music, they will be brainwashed and unconsciously dance to the beat. Effectiveness once open use. Weakness. The interference of the divine music will only take effect once a month. Those with high cultivation may be immune to the brainwashing of the divine music. Price 10 contribution points. Jun Changshao said. Brainwashing of the divine music seems interesting. He retracted the detailed introduction and looked at the other items. Finding that they were useless, he decisively bought the magically altered sound system. After a series of notifications, Jun Changshao refreshed the store. This time his luck was off the charts. There was a talent-altering liquid in the items. He clicked on it and found that it was suitable for mortal-grade spirit roots, but the price was still 50 contribution points. Buy. Ding. The host has spent 50 contribution points and obtained talent-altering liquid X1. Ding. Sect contribution points 80500. Jun Changshao took out the talent-altering liquid, opened the bottle and drank it without hesitation. It was still the same taste, a little mellow with malt. Ding! The host has used talent-altering liquid X1, altering the spirit root's aptitude. Spirit root's aptitude alteration completed. The host has successfully broken through to 6th grade martial disciple. The change in his aptitude caused Jun Changshao's cultivation to increase, but it was only by 1 grade. After his spirit root was upgraded to middle grade, Sect leader Jun's compatibility with the spiritual energy of heaven and earth had increased. After a night of cultivation, the results were obvious. Not bad, not bad. He walked out of the room swinging his arms. The sky was just beginning to brighten, and everything was so fresh. Just as he went to the outer courtyard, he saw Xiao Ziji walking out of the training room, squatting on the stairs and panting tiredly. "You've worked hard," Jun Changxiao praised. The disciples got up one after another, washed up, and came to the training field for their routine cultivation. "Hurry up." Li Qingyang also came, but Yi Xingchen followed behind him. This night Emperor, Lord Yi Xingchen, had his head lowered, but his eyes were cold. "What's going on?" Jun Changxiao asked. Li Qingyang said, "Sect leader, Junior Martial Brother Yi hasn't done any morning exercises since he joined the sect. This time, I pulled him over." "Humph," Yi Xingchen said coldly. "I am a dignified martial emperor. Why would I do morning exercises with you bunch of ordinary people?" Jun Changxiao said, "Xingchen, I think you haven't adapted to the life of a sect yet." "Pa," he snapped his fingers and said, "In order to make you happy, I have to adjust the atmosphere of the sect." "Atmosphere?" Everyone was confused. "Pa." Jun Changxiao changed the sound system and placed it in front of the main hall. He said, "From now on, you will have beautiful music to accompany you during morning exercises every day." Su Xiaomao came over and looked left and right. "Sect leader, what is this?" Jun Changxiao didn't explain. When all the male and female disciples arrived, he gently pressed the button on the sound system. 2 subwoofers suddenly sounded move, move, move. "Oh my God!" Su Xiaoma, who had his ear pressed against the subwoofers, heard the sound and was so scared that he fell down the stairs. It was like a seaweed, swaying with the waves. Seaweed. A very melodious divine tune sounded in the Ironbone training field. "Idiot," Yi Xingchen muttered. At this moment, Jun Changxiao pointed in his direction and said, Come, jump." Yi Xingchen's pupil shrank. He couldn't help but spread his legs and raise his hands. Then, he jumped to the rhythm of the divine tune. A dignified martial emperor stood on the training field and danced with joy. Occasionally, he would put one hand on the ground and lift his whole body. The disciples looked at him with strange expressions. Jun Changxiao took off his long robe and put his fingers in his mouth. He whistled and shouted, "Babies, let's have fun." His will spread and enveloped all the disciples. Then nearly 100 disciples lined up neatly and jumped to the rhythm of the divine tune. "Second senior brother, I can't control my body. I can't control myself either. Hee, it's so fun. Why isn't senior sister jumping with us?" Chapter 86. After being brainwashed by the divine melody, the Ironbone disciples felt refreshed. They did not feel tired even after a whole day of cultivation. This was the effect of the magically modified sound system. Not only could it liven up the atmosphere, but it also had a refreshing effect. However, after the morning exercise, Yi Xingchen squatted in a corner and held his head with both hands. He howled in his heart. What did I do? What did I do? Where was his dignity? Where was his temper? Especially when he thought about how he had been singing and dancing in public, his eyes turned red. He wished he could tear a hole in the ground with his hands and crawl into it. The more Yi Xingchen thought about it, the more pain he felt. He raised his head and roared. Whoosh! The ball of happiness shot toward him from a tricky angle. Swoosh! Yi Xingchen twisted his body, and the ball swept past his face. He thought disdainfully, I'm not who I was a few days ago. Junior brother, watch your back. Su Xiaoma shouted. Yi Xingchen was stunned. He instinctively looked back and saw the ball that had hit the wall bounce back. Bang! Thump! Yi Xingchen lay on the ground with his arms and legs spread out. He was not who he was a few days ago, but he still had the ability to catch the ball with his face. He really wanted to die. He really wanted to be reborn again. Li Fei, what kind of stupid footwork is that? You kicked junior brother in the face again. The next day, Ironbone disciples were happily doing morning exercises to the tune of the divine melody. Yi Xingchen, who was supervised by Li Qingyang, could only do the exercises despite his resistance. However, he remained silent, as if he was an autistic patient. After the morning exercises, the disciples cultivated on their own. Jun Changxiao walked over and sat on the stairs. He said, "How have you been these past few days?" Yi Xingchen, who was sitting next to him, was silent. Jun Changxiao said, "Your eyes tell me that you're someone with a story." Yi Xingchen continued to be silent. If he had enough strength now, he would definitely press the sect leader to the ground and ruthlessly rub him against the ground. Jun Changxiao reclined with his hands on the stairs and said, "Actually, I envy people like you who have stories. You're not like me, whose life is summed up by the word handsome." Yi Xingchen. Jun Changxiao stood up and patted the dust off his butt. "Xingchen, if you hold a grudge against me for forcing you into the sect, you can leave now." "Really?" Yi Xingchen finally spoke. Jun Changxiao threw the disciple admission form to him and pointed to the door. "You can leave now. No one will stop you." Shua. Yi Xingchen got up and walked towards the door. Jun Changxiao crossed his arms and said, "However, you have to consider this carefully. Leaving this place is equivalent to losing a lot of cultivation resources. If you have any grudges, it will be difficult for you to take revenge." Yi Xingchen stopped in his tracks and clenched his fists. He really wanted to leave immediately, but after going through the muscle-building training, his physical body had improved rapidly. He was a little reluctant to leave. Was he right? This guy had enemies? Jun Changxiao said, "I don't know your story, and I don't want to hear it. But you just have to remember that cultivating in the Iron Bone School will only make you stronger." The disciples who were playing football on the training field stopped and looked at Yi Xingchen, who seemed to be about to leave. "Junior brother." Su Xiaoma picked up the ball and shouted, "Although our sect is a little weak now, under the leadership of the sect leader, we will definitely become stronger. If you leave, you will regret it for the rest of your life." "TSK." Yi Xingchen snorted coldly. Then he stepped back and stood beside Jun Changxiao. "Can it help me break through to the Martial Emperor realm?" He mentioned the Martial Emperor realm the moment he opened his mouth. This guy was definitely not simple. Jun Changxiao touched his nose and said, "Martial Emperor is just the beginning. If there are higher realms, I can easily take you there. Let's show off first and talk about it later." Knight Emperor threw the entry form over and said, "I'm going to cultivate." He acknowledged me as his disciple? That was rare. Could it be that a martial emperor was fooled by Jun Changxiao just like that? No, he was just obsessed with the muscle building room. Moreover, he needed a place to concentrate on cultivating. Although the Iron Bone School was weak, at least it was quiet. Jun Changxiao forced him into the sect, and Su Xiaoma beat him up. All of this was nothing to Yi Xingchen, because his only goal after being reborn was to drag the Empress down from her pedestal. Of course, he did not know that if he really took the entry form and walked out of the Iron Bone School, he would not only lose the muscle building room, but also all the memories related to the tendon-changing scripture. Jun Changxiao said, "Follow me to Qingyang City tomorrow. I'll take you to see the world." The world? Yi Xingchen sneered in his heart. As one of the 10 martial emperors in his previous life, what world had he not seen? The next day, the disciple continued to cultivate as usual. Jun Changxiao was ready to leave, bringing Li Qingyang, Su Xiaomo, Xiao Ziji, and Yi Xingchen to Qingyang City. Sect Master. On the way, Li Qingyang said, "The 100 Sect Alliance leader invited you. It's a little inappropriate to bring us along." Jun Changxiao said, "There's nothing inappropriate about it." TSK. So he was going to attend a sect meeting in a small county. This was considered a world? Back then, this emperor discussed martial arts with the 9 great martial emperors on Crimson Cloud Mountain. Yi Xingchen thought to himself, this guy was still immersed in his past glory, and did not know that he was just a useless person in this life. After a few days of cultivation, Yi Xingchen's body was obviously much stronger than before. If he did not have the muscle building room, he would not have grown so quickly. Unfortunately, he did not comprehend the body metamorphose scripture, nor did he comprehend the Taishian scripture. His cultivation was still stuck at the first level of channel opening, or his spirit roots were too weak. Qingyang City. Jun Changshao rushed over again. Unlike before, when he brought his disciple into the city, the passers-by no longer looked at him with disdain and contempt. His disciple took the top 4 spots and destroyed the Spirit Spring Sect. At this time, who would dare to think of Iron Bone as a mediocre sect? Sect Master Jun Li family head welcomed him with a smile on his face. Father, Li Qingyang called out. After joining the sect, this was the first time he returned to Qingyang City. Jun Changshao said considerately, "Go accompany your father and fulfill your filial piety. I'll bring your junior brothers to the appointment." This was the reason why he brought Li Qingyang to Qingyang City. Li Qingyang said seriously, "Sect Master, after this matter is settled, disciple will talk to father about the old days." He was the son of Li family head, and also a disciple of Iron Bone. At this banquet, the alliance leader and the higher-ups of the various sects would definitely deliberately make things difficult for him. As the second disciple, how could he not accompany the sect master? All right. Jun Changshao cupped his hands and said, "Li family head, I still have matters to attend to. After I'm done, I will visit your residence." Saying so, he brought his 4 disciples to the Star Moon Pavilion. Sigh. Watching his son leave, Li family head sighed. He knew that Jun Changshao was going to attend the meeting, and the Star Moon Pavilion was booked yesterday. Inside were all the sect masters of the various sections. Qingyang would be fine if he went, right? There are at least 30 sect masters in the Star Moon Pavilion. It's a big lineup. If I went in and met so many big shots, I would probably be scared to the ground. Sect Master Jun destroyed the Spirit Spring Sect. The Alliance is very angry. This time, he will definitely be targeted. The passers-by and martial artists discussed in low voices. Xie Guangquan stood in the study and heard from the guard that Jun Changshao had entered the city. He muttered, "Kid, this is an internal matter of your alliance. It's not convenient for me to participate. I hope you can handle it." Chapter 87. The extravagant alliance chief Qin booked the entire Star Moon Pavilion. There was not a single random person inside. There were 5 large round tables on the second floor. There was 1 in the center and 4 on both sides. Apart from the center where only 1 person sat, the other 4 had 8 people sitting at each table. Sitting alone at the big round table was Qin Haoran. He put his hands on the table and leaned against the back of the chair. He closed his eyes and rested his mind. His whole body emitted the aura of someone who had been in a high position for a long time. The 32 martial artists on both sides were the big shots of the various sections. Although they did not have the might of the Alliance Master, they still exuded an aura that made people revere them. Because of their presence, the entire second floor became especially solemn. At this time, if an ordinary person came in and saw such a scene, they would definitely be scared out of their wits. Alliance head Qin. After a long time, the Long Blade Gate's patriarch couldn't help but ask, "It's almost noon. Why isn't Iron Bone Gate's patriarch here yet? Will he stand us up?" The Tiger's Howl School patriarch asked. "No," Alliance Master Qin said firmly. Xie Guangquan was the one who contacted Iron Bone. He didn't think that Iron Bone would dare to break their promise. One of the elders said indifferently, "The Alliance Conference is such an important event, and he actually came late. It seems like he doesn't care about the 100 Sect Alliance at all. When he comes, I must ask him if he is familiar with the rules of the 100 Sect Alliance." Forget about it, Sect Headway. If Jun Changshao knew the rules of the Alliance, how could he do something as outrageous as exterminating the Spirit Spring Sect? Motherfucker, that guy destroyed the Spirit Spring Sect. If the Sacred Spring Sect comes after us, we'll definitely suffer. The sect leaders of the various sects discussed with righteous indignation. From the looks of it, if Jun Changshao were to come, he would definitely drown in his saliva. In fact, if it was any other sect that was destroyed, they wouldn't be so angry. However, the one that was destroyed was the Spirit Spring Sect, that was related to the Sacred Spring Sect. The Sacred Spring Sect was a sect that was as different as heaven and earth, compared to other sections. Not to mention the upper echelons. Just a single disciple was enough to torture him to the point that he doubted his own life. Qin Haoran's expression also became solemn. This time, the alliance meeting was held to represent the alliance to stand up for the Spirit Spring Sect and give the Sacred Spring Sect an explanation. Thump, thump, thump. Suddenly, the sound of someone coming up the stairs was heard. Qin Haoran and the 32 sect leaders all looked at the staircase, their eyes flashing coldly. Jun Changxiao's head was the first to appear at the top of the stairs. Seeing so many people, he said, "I'm sorry, my appearance is wrong. Please wait a moment." As he spoke, he retracted his hand. Why did he go down again? I'm afraid he's so scared that he doesn't dare to meet City Lord Qin. Since you're afraid, you shouldn't have destroyed the Spirit Spring Sect. Didugu, 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 didugu. Suddenly, a slightly deafening low sound was heard, startling all the sect leaders and causing them to stand up and stare at the stairs. Under the background music of the god of gamblers, Jun Changxiao walked up in a mink coat with a cigar in his mouth, so flirtatious that it was unbearable. Li Qingyang, Su Xiaoma, and Xiao Ziji followed. They stood in a line behind the sect leader, their hands crossed. If they wore a black suit and sunglasses, they would look like a dark evil force. Martial Emperor Yi Xingchen walked up with a crazy face, carrying a stereo. Fuck. So embarrassing, so shameful. Suddenly, the divine song suddenly changed, and he sang, "Don't look at me as just a sheep." The corner of Jun Changxiao's mouth twitched. "Turn it off." Pa. The stereo was turned off. Silence. On the opposite side, Alliance leader Qin and the 32 sect leaders all stared with wide eyes. Their eyes filled with the luster of what the hell is this? Jun Changxiao shrugged. Li Qingyang stepped forward, took the mink coat that he rented from the town, and then returned to his original position. Puff. Blowing out a smoke ring, Jun Changxiao said indifferently, "Alliance leader Qin, such a big table. You didn't even prepare a chair. Isn't it a bit against the rules of Jianghu?" The leader of the Nine Streams Iron Fist gang said indifferently, "Do you think your iron bone deserves to sit on a chair?" There was a ready-made chair next to him, originally reserved for Jun Changxiao, but it was deliberately taken back. This approach was supported by the sect leaders of the various sections. Not to mention the level of the sect, just the destruction of the Spirit Spring Sect violated the rules of the alliance. What qualifications did the leader of the Iron Bone gang have to be on equal footing with him in the meeting? "I've sinned," Jun Changxiao said. "Bring the chair over." Yes. Xiao Ziji walked over. The leader of the Iron Fist gang pressed one hand on the chair and said indifferently, "If someone wants to take it, it should be the sect leader. What are you, a disciple?" The elders of the various sects watched with interest. The Iron Fist gang was famous for their iron fists. With one hand on the chair, the Iron Bone disciple certainly couldn't move an inch. "Please take your hand away," Xiao Ziji said indifferently. The leader of the Iron Fist gang changed his palm into a fist and said disdainfully, "I said, let your sect leader." Shwa. Xiao Ziji's right arm suddenly swung over, the power of his body exploding. Not only was the speed fast, it also carried a gust of wind. The leader of the Iron Fist gang's face changed greatly, subconsciously raising his arms to block. Pung! The heavy iron arm was like a sledgehammer, fiercely slamming into his arms. The power exploded, directly lifting him up, and then with a bang, he broke the window and flew out. Outside the Star Moon Pavilion, many martial artists gathered. They were either whispering or looking up at the second floor. Suddenly the window broke, and a person fell down from above, instantly giving them a big fright. Oh my god. The leader of the Iron Bone gang had just gone up, and the alliance had already acted? Exciting, exciting. Many martial artists looked over, and were suddenly dumbstruck. Because the person who fell from the second floor was not a member of the Iron Bone gang, but the leader of the Iron Fist gang. Ah, it hurts. The Star Moon Pavilion was silent. The elders of the various sects were stunned as they watched Xiao Ziji pick up the chair, place it behind the leader of the Iron Bone gang, and then return it to its original position. His exposed right arm revealed beautiful muscle lines. At first glance, one could tell that it was very powerful. That guy is obviously a trash without spiritual power. But with only the strength of his body, he sent a martial disciple flying. It's unbelievable. Yi Xingchen was secretly shocked. Jun Changshao sat down elegantly, one hand holding a cigar, one leg crossed, and said indifferently, "Everyone, I've come to keep the appointment." Bang! The leader of the Long Blade Gang slammed the table and stood up, angrily saying, "Jun Changshao, this is the alliance meeting. Your disciple acted without permission. Is there any law?" The tone of the word law suddenly weakened, because Jun Changshao had already mounted the Desert Eagle and pointed down, saying, "If you have something to say, sit down and talk." The faces of the leaders of the various sects changed. After the destruction of the Spirit Spring sect, they learned the truth from many sources, and learned that Wei Inu was killed by this silver hidden weapon. A 12th level Meridian Opening Realm cultivator was shot to death in an instant. This was no ordinary hidden weapon. The leader of the Long Blade Gang was angry, but he still sat down obediently. "That's right." Jun Changshao put away his spear, took a puff of his cigar, and said with a smile, "Since it's the alliance meeting, why do you have to stand and talk?" Leader Qin went straight to the point, saying in a low voice, "Leader Jun, did you destroy the Spirit Spring sect?" "That's right." Jun Changshao didn't deny it. Leader Qin said with a cold face, "According to the rules of the alliance, members can't destroy a sect without permission. As the leader, you should know, right?" "I know," Jun Changshao answered. Leader Qin's face became gloomier, saying, "Leader Jun, why do you still do it when you know it's impossible?"